of humanity in the city of Twilight, dragons are slain, lightning pours down from the sky, and finally an enormous dragon also falls. An old man says that this is Leon's ancestral dragon. Suddenly, the guardian of time, Atto, tells the great sage that there is no more hope for the world and that he will burn his body, even his true soul, to repair the passage of time. He says that he must bring hope by leaving this era and believes that, with wisdom, he can change the fate of humanity in another era. The great sage replies that the forbidden gods, who know the mysteries of time, are the best guardians of themselves. They are part of this era, and no one can break free. An extremely bright light bursts out around him from the staff. The great sage says to let people from outside this era change the destiny of humanity. The staff continues releasing energy, forming magical circles. The energy surges toward the real world. A voice says that before the predestined extermination, any futile struggle will only seem pathetic. The guardian asks what that is, and the great sage answers that it is the forbidden god who will destroy the passage. The voice says that any lesser hope will be swallowed by despair. Silent humans in the ruins of this era, together with their miserable hopes, turn into dust. The great sage closes his eyes and says that they are dust, but also heroes, and that the forbidden god must witness the power of 10,000 pieces of dust. People look on in shock and say that the great sage is initiating a sacrificial ceremony. He says that this era is coming to an end and is about to become dust, and he asks his fellow warriors to follow him and blaze brilliantly in the final fireworks of this era. One of them says he will follow and has no regrets in this life. The old man says that as people of the past, they will present a gift to the people of the future, going against the flow of the river of time and planting a seed of hope for the future of humanity. This is an age from the old days of riding wild beasts, channeling and using all kinds of fists, rivers, and powerful beasts to explore the world. They establish gathering points and enjoy the resources to the fullest, which is the supreme goal. Outside these points, dangerous beasts are everywhere. For 100 years, they have stood on the edge of a perilous wilderness. The master of the fortress is a knight of the Castle of Black Light, which was also established by him and his Black Light Assembly. At the place of Black Light, a boy looks at a notice saying that the special training camp for knights does not accept vagrants. If he can hatch within 3 years, he will be immediately included in a team. If he has objections, he will be terminated. Being a knight carries risks, and to join, one must be cautious. The boy holds an egg and sighs. Sitting on a barrel, he thinks that he is not reconciled. Tomorrow is the last day of the 3 years, and there are no signs of hatching. He truly is not reconciled. The boy notices a light and wonders what it is. He watches as the light approaches and strikes him. The boy falls to the ground, unconscious. In his mind, he sees a dragon moving with a warrior riding on it. Then the dragon flies away. Someone calls out to him, telling him to wake up, and asks if he slept there overnight. He says that trainee knights undergoing special treatment are not allowed to stay in the castle at night. He asks if the boy stayed there. The protagonist wonders if that was a dream. He recalls the dream from the previous night with a gigantic dragon and a knight. He thinks that dragon knights can be very powerful. The guard becomes irritated and asks what he is muttering about, whether he is pretending not to exist. He strikes him in the face, leaving a scratch, and says he heard that today the boy will report to the search team to explore outside the land of the assembly together with other low-class members. He also says that he violated curfew and asks whether he will be able to come out of the jungle alive after 12 lashes. The egg begins to crack. A young man behind asks Su Hung how his egg is cracking. The protagonist becomes excited and asks if he succeeded, saying that 3 years of hard work were not wasted. The guard thinks that this useless guy actually succeeded and says it was a huge misunderstanding. He says he will immediately call the special training officer to confirm his identity as a knight and believes the boy will achieve great success. But someone arrives and says there is no need to call. It is Lu Yu from the special training. She tells him to try to communicate with the egg. Su says he will. He moves close to the egg and says he has been eagerly waiting for it. The hatchling grumbles. The protagonist is excited and says it responded. Lu says that is very good and that Blacklight has gained another young knight. She notices the wound on his face and asks what happened. Su points to the man who struck him. Lu asks if he dared to hit a knight. She says she will give him 20 lashes and send him outside the land of the assembly to survive, and that he must accept the punishment. The man begs for his life to be spared. Later in the castle, Lu enters a room with the protagonist. The fortress master, Johei, asks if he is the first rookie of the semester. Lu says yes, and that she heard he was going to report to the search team, but unexpectedly succeeded. His reward should not be small. The master says that he had determination until the last moment, which is not bad at all. He will give 2 options. The first, since the egg is a scaled lizard, he will give dragon scales with a high-level bloodline, which will accelerate hatching and make it stronger than most scaled lizards. There is a small chance of being influenced by the dragon bloodline, greatly increasing its strength. The second, when he raises another beast, he may choose one from the master's personal collection. Sue thinks that 10 steps in the forest cannot compare to one in the hand and chooses the dragon scale. Joe says that is fine and will have someone bring the scale in the afternoon. He hopes the boy will not lose heart in the future and will bring great contributions to the land of the assembly. The protagonist agrees. Outside the land of the assembly, the castle of Blacklight is divided into 2 districts. The inner one, where the rich live, is cleaner. The outer one, where the poorer live, is filthy. The outer district is Sue's home. A voice says to let him go because it hurts. A girl asks if he even knows pain and where he was the night before. She says she went to the castle walls early to look for him but could not enter and could only wait anxiously. Now he wants to come back today? She says she will tear off his ear. Someone knocks on the door. The girl asks who it is. A butler says that these are the items sent by the fortress master and that they may accept them. Both are surprised. The girl asks if he succeeded and says, "That is wonderful. If their parents knew, they would be happy. They did not sell the old house in vain. Her brother will be the boss." They notice something. Silence fills the room. The girl says she remembered she needs to work and that her brother managed to handle it. She leaves and closes the door. The protagonist stands there, looking at what he received, and asks if this is a dragon scale. A light begins to shine in his hand until his head also emits energy. He widens his eyes and sees, in his mind, a book opening. Scaled lizard scales, dragon blood root, and the dragon and lizard shell-breaking ritual appear. The protagonist returns to normal and gives thanks. He wonders whether a lizard can become a dragon. He thinks that adult dragons are the most dangerous species, capable of annihilating an entire colony. The intermediate-level dangerous lizard he has is a completely different species. He says that the dragon blood root looks like a brownish-purple root and wonders if it is useful. Sue thinks that even the genius girl who hatched the lord of the castle was accepted as a resident to be personally taught. But the first animal she hatched was only a high-level dangerous species. What if he manages to hatch a dragon? At the medicine shop, he buys some items and begins preparing, thinking that he too could become a disciple of the master. The protagonist draws a circle on the ground and places the egg at the center. A light appears, showing the shadow of a dragon. Sue watches as the energy weakens and disappears. The egg cracks even more, and he wonders whether it is a lizard or a dragon. At the training center, people are training, and Lou stands to the side, observing. 2 boys comment about the boy who still had not hatched the egg and was absent for 4 days. They say maybe he was killed at home or became arrogant after becoming a tamer and will be punished when he returns. Yu notices something. It is the protagonist entering. Lou says he finally remembered and asks whether he needs to come for training. People comment that he is doomed. Sue replies that he was absent for a reason, and Lou asks what it is, saying he had better give a reasonable explanation. Heng tells his little one to come out. In the backpack, the hatchling peeks out with only its little eyes visible and jumps onto his shoulder, emitting a sound with a terrifying aura. Everyone looks on in shock, saying that it is not a lizard and asking what it is, commenting on the strong pressure. Yu says it is an extremely dangerous species and that they should see the lord of the castle. In a room, Joe says that it truly is a high-level dangerous species. He grits his teeth, saying that at the very first hatching it was already like this, and orders them to check who made the egg, saying to notify the department and deduct 3 months of salary. In truth, they made a dragon egg instead of a lizard one, and almost ruined the future of a genius. As for the protagonist, he says these years must have been hard, but he was lucky. If he had obtained a normal egg or a high-level dangerous species, he would already have outstanding achievements. But all effort brings reward. With this dragon as his starting point, he will be no weaker than anyone in the future if he works hard. The protagonist says that he will not disappoint the castle. The fortress master replies that he is grateful the tamer training has produced such a genius, both talented and tenacious, and asks whether he is willing to become his disciple. Sue is surprised, and so is Lou. Heng thinks that, after 3 years, the lord of the castle who once took in Bai is accepting disciples again. The protagonist says he is willing, and Zhou says that this is excellent. He announces that today he summons all tamers without missions to a banquet to witness the birth of another talented tamer and celebrate accepting another disciple. The banquet continues into the night. The protagonist and his sister are escorted home by a castle guard in a carriage. At home, Sue says that he now receives a monthly stipend of 100 grams of gold and that, once he has enough money, they will buy back the old house that was sold for him to undergo special training. His sister says she could not earn that much even in 3 years and praises her brother. Heng complains, telling her not to pinch his face and to go rest since she works tomorrow. The most common distinction between ordinary creatures and dangerous species is whether they are born with the talent to use energy. Techniques that use this talent are called skills and are essential for determining the combat capability of a tamed beast. Dragons are superior species by nature with extremely high energy talent. In addition to their common violent attacks, they possess 6 skills. Dragon Sleep, which allows rapid recovery, low-grade racial skills, Dragon Strength, a destructive skill, Earth Spear Sacrifice, and Earth Power Absorption. The last, when combined with Dragon Sleep, gives them astonishing vitality, making them nearly indestructible. Finally, there is the strongest demonic skill, second only to dragon breath, demonic breath. The protagonist looks at a book and says he believes his hatchling will become a powerful beast. He widens his eyes in surprise, thinking about the growth speed of dangerous species. In the castle, during tamer training, Joe says the dragon's potential is extremely strong and suggests testing its talent for the 3 types of energy, choosing one to train first. Its main strength is demonic. Hang looks at the ring on his hand and asks if it is the domination seal. The tamer's seal is a special item that keeps the beast in an internal space to sleep and recover energy. Because adult beasts are very large and a tamer needs several, they use bracelets, necklaces, brooches, watches, earrings, and similar items. A scarlet demon wolf is summoned. He says it is born with a lower classification but is nurtured until it reaches high level and is one of the master's main beasts in his early years, making it perfect to test the dragon. The protagonist wonders if that is appropriate. Joe explains that the wolf, being a mix of demonic and pure beast attributes, allows the dragon to observe and will be fine. The dragon trembles when it sees the wolf approach and seems afraid. He orders the wolf to use demonic breath so the little one can learn. The wolf opens its mouth and releases the breath. Joe tells it to stop. Hang watches in surprise, seeing the hatchling surrounded by a terrifying aura, and comments that it seems clever. The protagonist encourages it again. The hatchling tries to release breath, but nothing comes out. Joe explains that the little one has comprehended demonic energy, and that the purple smoke is the embryonic form of demonic breath. He says they have found a treasure, that the dragon is extremely talented, and that the wolf needs no further testing. The wolf disappears, and the hatchling relaxes. Another, larger beast is summoned, a demonic-type beast with the special classification terrifying. The hatchling clings to its owner's leg, trembling. Sue says this is not right, and Joe agrees. Another animal is summoned, a dragon with powerful energy. He explains that using something beyond the terrifying type makes things easier, and that this is one of the master's main forces with fire, dragon, demonic, and earth attributes, his only dragon-type beast, and tells her to come out and start playing. The Tyrannosaur is enormous. Heng asks whether dragon types are not rare, and Joe replies that they are and that he is lucky to tame it, since many veterans want such a beast. The protagonist thinks he must keep the book a secret. Joe asks if he is ready. The Tyrannosaur stares at the hatchling, which panics. Joe tells it to use a bit of dragon power so the little one can feel it. The Tyrannosaur releases its power, creating terrifying pressure. Sue thinks it feels like being in a small boat on a stormy river about to capsize. He touches his shoulder and tells him not to stay within the attack range. Heng feels the pressure disappear and thinks about the strength required for that. Joe is surprised that he holds firm and tells the Tyrannosaur to increase the pressure. The aura intensifies and Joe asks whether he can endure any longer. Heng widens his eyes when he sees the hatchling resisting and says that, even though it is weak, it is using low-level dragon power to confront the Tyrannosaur. He says such talent is hard to imagine, and that, in the future, it could break limits and reach great heights. The protagonist asks if it is really that strong. Joe, still surprised, asks whether he uses the dragon scales. Sue says he uses them as soon as he receives them. Heng comments that the hatchling absorbs the special substance in the scale very well and may have inherited the dragon blood trait, which greatly elevates it. Cho hands over a book saying he organizes training methods and skills into a spiritual seal and also adjusts the most suitable mental training method, reminding the protagonist not to neglect mental training since spiritual power is the tamer's strength and the foundation of beast taming. He thanks him. After leaving the castle, Heng buys back the old house, and when the seller learns he becomes a tamer, he is very sincere. Before Ching gets off work, the protagonist reorganizes and cleans the old house, and even if it cannot be restored to how it looked in memory, it is already good enough. He does not tell his sister yet, so Sue decides to go to her workplace, pick her up and give her a surprise, then sets off. Elsewhere, 2 rabid dogs lunge forward as Ching screams in fear, and Heng recognizes the voice as his sister's and immediately runs toward her. Ching tells the dogs to go away, and a blonde boy asks why she is running, claiming his dogs do not bite and only want to play. She keeps retreating and asking them to leave, and the blonde says that if she is willing to accompany him and play with him that night, his dogs will not bother her. The protagonist approaches, asks what he means by playing, and tells them to shut up. He advances with a stone in his hand, strikes one of the dogs, and knocks it to the ground. Heng says he is just a street gangster and tells him to stay away from his sister, warning that it is not because his father is a plantation director that everyone must treat him well. The blonde shouts for his dog, asks how he dares hit Charlie, and orders the other dog to bite the protagonist to death. The animal rushes forward, and Ching screams for him to run. But when the dog lunges, the dragon hatchling stares at it and bites it, shocking everyone. The protagonist orders it to bite until the end, and the hatchling continues. The blonde protests about his dogs, pulls out a knife, and orders his friends to draw knives as well to stab the 2. The 3 advance, but Sue extends his hand using dragon power, and the hatchling releases a terrifying aura that stops the blonde in place. He asks what is happening, while the other two say that bastard is frightening and they should be cautious. Another group approaches, asking what they are doing, and one warns that a guard is coming, suggesting they ask to have the boy handcuffed, saying there will be room to maneuver if anything happens. The blonde says he knows the nearby guards and will ask them to handcuff that trash, claiming that once he's taken to the security team's detention room, they will make him incapable of doing anything, and that he even plans to take advantage of the protagonist's sister, saying his dogs will not have died in vain. The guard arrives, asks whether that is not young Master Gu, and asks what is happening. The blonde says the protagonist cruelly killed his two dogs and demands they capture him immediately. The guard orders him to be handcuffed, and the two guards advance with cuffs, saying he killed the young master's favorite dogs and should surrender peacefully. The protagonist looks at a brick on the ground and says that the brick killed the dogs and that if they are dissatisfied, they should punish the brick. The guards say he dares act arrogantly even after killing someone, and warn that he will regret it once locked in the detention room, until they notice the dragon hatchling releasing an intense, powerful aura that frightens them. Su shows his tamer classification and tells them to look carefully. The guards are shocked and call the captain. The leader realizes he is the famous new disciple accepted by the lord of the castle, already known throughout the region. The captain draws his weapon, fires into the air, and aims at the blonde, saying they have indeed banded together to commit crimes on the street and are far too presumptuous. He orders them to be handcuffed immediately and warns that if they resist, they will be killed on the spot. They are handcuffed. The blonde protests, claiming he is the victim and that his father is the plantation director, but the captain punches him and orders that he be slapped. Other guards begin beating him, and the captain says that bastard truly dares to kill dogs and that if not handled this way, he would cause an even greater disaster. The protagonist says they have handled the matter temporarily. The captain thanks him and says those bastards will be beaten severely as punishment, asking if he is satisfied. Su replies that it does not matter whether they survive or not, because he will still look for them after they are released from prison. The captain understands, and Heng tells his sister to go home since everything is fine. Ching agrees and follows him. The captain asks his partners whether it is better to offend a plantation director or a tamer, and the partner replies that there is no need to think about it, because offending a tamer means not even knowing how one will lose their life. The captain agrees and orders a vehicle to be prepared to take the prisoners to the garbage incineration site and eliminate them. Elsewhere, Ching cries hard when she sees the old house her brother buys back, saying she never imagines returning there and that it feels like a dream. The protagonist tells her not to get overly excited and hands her the house key, saying this is only the beginning and that the future will only get better. And Ching says she believes in him. Then someone knocks on the door and Su asks who it is. The old man says he is forgetful and introduces himself as Deputy Director Guo from the Plantation Administration Office. Ching asks why he has come, and Guo replies that he has received news from the security team that Ding's son offended them, so he will help handle it by arranging for him to be transferred to the third-level planting and agriculture sector as an ordinary farmer, saying that although wild animals are unruly and accidents are frequent, Ding always says he can adapt to any position, and asks whether the protagonist is satisfied with the arrangement. Heng replies that he is very smart. Guo says he has heard that Ching is also a senior agronomist and will be transferred to the agronomy department as a deputy director. She asks whether he thinks she is unsuitable, and Guo replies that she is completely suitable because she is the Lord's sister, and if she encounters any problems in the future, she can come to him. Ching says it is fine and that she accepts. The protagonist thinks that becoming stronger truly brings more privileges. Later, food is placed in a bowl, and Su calls his pet to eat, saying it is an excellent recipe given by the teacher, specially made for growth, and that if it eats well, it will become stronger. He thinks about how there are 8 levels of beast-rearing formulas: inferior, qualified, intermediate, good, very good, excellent, extraordinary, and perfect. The teacher's recipe is for demonic-type beasts and is of good level, precious for a novice, but Su finds it strange that the hatchling stops eating after only 2 bites and wonders whether something is wrong with the ingredients. Heng says book and summons the book, which shows that after being born, the dragon devours the eggshell and stops eating for a period of time. Because it is a combination of earth, dragon, and demonic attributes, its recipe should not be balanced but focused, and it is picky, preferring living beings. The protagonist concludes what the problem is and decides to change the recipe. Every month he receives money from the teacher so he can feed the dragon the best. In the following days, Su prepares food according to the book and the little one loves it, but this causes a frightening problem. Heng says it cannot be. It is only the 5th day, until a coin falls to the ground beside the hatchling and it is already much larger, and the protagonist realizes that, despite being driven into bankruptcy by it, the dragon has indeed grown into the juvenile stage. He thinks that if they encounter those 2 hard-to-kill dogs again, the current dragon will not even need to use skills, only fly, bite, and slash with its claws to cut them in half with its sharp teeth. Sue strokes it, thinking that ordinary people would not even be able to injure it. Perhaps not even firearms would be effective. And even 5 armed people would be eliminated instantly. He remembers that the teacher says that when the dragon reaches the juvenile stage, he should go find him. But this happens in just 5 days, something unprecedented. Perhaps the recipe is extraordinary or even perfect, so he must keep it secret. He tells his pet that now they need to train skills and stop feeding for 10 days. At the castle, Heng knocks on the door and a voice tells him to enter. Joe says it has been a long time since the last visit and asks why, hinting at laziness at work, and the protagonist explains that he has been taking care of the dragon and that after feeding it with the given formulas, it has successfully entered the growth stage. Joe is shocked upon seeing the size of the dragon hatchling, and Sue says he does not think it is considered fast. Joe smacks him and asks what nonsense he is talking about, saying that senior sister's ice lotus pod takes a full month to reach the growth stage, and asks how much faster he still wants, also pointing out that her ice lotus pod is only a high-level dangerous species, 2 levels below a dragon. Heng thinks that he can believe whatever he wants. As long as he does not pursue this abnormal growth rate, it is fine. He comments that it seems the protagonist is not only talented in skills but also in growth. Since it has been cultivated to the growth stage, he says the dragon should already be familiar with its skills, and asks which have been developed. The protagonist replies that dragon power is enlightened to the 1st level and has developed 2 skills, dragon power deterrence and dragon power shock, and that demonic breath is also enlightened to the 1st level and developed into shadow ball. Joe, shocked, asks whether he is joking and whether he has really trained the skills to that level in such a short time. Sue replies that it is thanks to the teaching, thinking that fortunately he never tells him about Earth Spear Sacrifice and Evil Strike, which are comprehended on the rooftop the previous night. Joe says his eyes are not mistaken about him and orders him to go to his exclusive training ground to show how much he has grown. At the Lord of the Castle's exclusive training ground, Joe tells him to do his best and perform well because if he is satisfied, he will give him a tamed saddle, since the dragon will grow larger and larger, and he should have noticed that already, and asks how a tamer could not have a tamer seal, making Heng think that obtaining this tamed seal for free depends solely on him. Joe raises the ring and summons the rock bear of resilient armor, stunning everyone. The protagonist asks how many tamed beasts he has, since he summons a different one every time. Joe replies that he has no weak beasts, that the terrifying ones he has domesticated number about 20, and the common ones, like the rock bear of resilient armor and the lava tyrannosaur, are only half that number, and that if he wants a tamer seal that can demonstrate combat capability, it is time to test the training results. The bear opens its huge mouth, releasing massive pressure, and the dragon releases its powerful aura and stares it down. Sue watches in surprise, thinking that it activates dragon power with just deterrence. And Joe says it is not bad to be able to withstand full pressure already at the growth stage. Joe orders the bear to stop, and it obeys. Then he tells them to be careful and instructs the protagonist to use demonic breath and try to attack, and Heng orders the dragon to use demonic breath. The dragon opens its mouth and releases the breath toward the opponent, but the bear realizes it does not even scratch it, and Joe asks whether the dragon has eaten nothing and says it is only tickling the bear. The protagonist smiles and orders his pet to use demonic breath ball continuously. The dragon locks onto the enemy and fires the demonic breath ball, hitting the opponent and cracking a piece of stone skin. The bear roars in pain, and Joe comments that this is very good, that he has indeed developed the skill well on his own, using demonic energy attacks and continuous shots, and that even so, the precision and speed are excellent, not bad at all. Sue thanks him for the praise, and thinks that even with a conscious attack that makes it impossible for the enemy to dodge, but still cannot completely break the bear's defense, it is already enough to satisfy him with the performance. Joe says that as a reward, the Beast Domination Ring is now his. It has plenty of space and is enough to hold 5 beasts, and in the future he will no longer need to worry about their size, as it can house up to 10 beasts if they are willing to squeeze in. Heng thanks him. Joe tells him not to be happy too soon because even if his skill development is not bad, he still lacks combat experience, which can only be gained through fighting. Therefore, he decides to send him to the northern frontline garrison, whose defensive line will give him many opportunities to fight dangerous species, and orders him to report to the military headquarters 3 days later, when someone will arrange the mission. There are 4 defensive lines outside the high walls of the Black Lantern gathering place, protecting the area. Each defensive line is composed of solid fortresses, tamers, powerful weapons, and soldiers. Among them, the southern and northern defensive lines are the most dangerous, fighting dangerous species almost every day. Most materials related to dangerous species in the city come from the hunting results of the 4 main defensive lines. During these 3 days, Sue requests an advance payment for assistance as a tamer, 250,000 grams of steel, half of which is exchanged for dragon food. He spends 3 days making all the food formulas that can be preserved for a long time. Under the arrangement of the Outer Fortress Army, Heng heads to the guard point at the 7th post of the northern section, serving as a team member, and the protagonist thinks that the 4 defensive lines in the enclave are widely established to protect the plantations in the wilderness. After all, the amount of land within the gathering place is limited. The food produced by the 7 plantations in the gathering area simply cannot meet the consumption needs of 50 to 60,000 people in the region. Working on a plantation outside the city is the second most dangerous occupation, second only to being part of a search team. And it is also one of the dangerous industries that residents try to escape. As he remembers, the director of Plantation Number 5, Ding, was assigned to Plantation Number 30, a security zone responsible for the northern defense line. The vehicle moves on and the guard tells him that this is guard post number 7 and wishes him well, saying he needs to return to make a report. A young man becomes indignant when he sees Sue get out of the vehicle and asks whether the chief of staff personally sent the newcomer. The blonde man beside him, wearing a bandana, says he heard that Sue is a tamer and asks whether he does not see the food on the vehicle, saying that all of it is feed for tamed beasts. The young man asks what they are waiting for and says they should go help him, and the blonde agrees, saying he is right. They immediately run over, pick up the bags of food, and ask how he could possibly do all this alone, telling him to let them help carry it, but Heng replies that there is no need. The young man introduces himself as Huang and says Sue can call him Xiao Huang and that he will take good care of him. The protagonist replies that he is too kind and says he will call him brother from now on. Huang says this is the first time he has seen a tamer without any arrogance and tells the others to be quick with their hands and feet so they can finish moving everything soon. There are a total of 29 sentry posts along the northern defense line, and guard post number 7 is located exactly in this section. 10 years ago, this place was demolished and destroyed by a monster, with no survivors escaping that attack. The current post was rebuilt on the ruins, becoming the place where he will fight. Huang picks up some food and tells Sue to try the meal prepared by Wen. Although their conditions are not good, Wen's skills are excellent and he should give it a try. Heng tells him to just call him by his name since they are comrades and there is no need to call him Lord. Huang replies that Lord Tamer is an important person, but that he will call him brother instead, and the protagonist says that is fine and that they will call each other brothers. He asks whether encounters with dangerous species are frequent in this area, and the blonde man, while eating, replies that the defense system here is considered mid-peripheral with less pressure than the outer area, but there are always some monsters that manage to get through. He tells him to take a look at the beasts they have hunted in recent days. In the middle, and at the end of each month, officers come to count military merits, take combat materials back to the city, and convert them into military merit points. Sue says that this is amazing because even without a tamed beast, they are already able to achieve such results. The young man asks what Sue's tamed beast is and whether he can show it. Huang complains, saying they do not know the rules and that tamed beast cannot be summoned casually, but Heng summons his dragon and says it is fine. They are shocked to see that it is a dangerous species. The beast lands on the ground and the protagonist says that this is his summoned beast, a dragon. The young man comments that his very first beast is already a dangerous species and says that this is incredible. The dragon becomes irritated and begins releasing its terrifying aura, and Sue flicks it on the head, telling it not to use abilities on them because it is very rude, and asks the young man if he is okay. Hu replies that he is fine, saying the tamed beast is incredible, and the blonde bursts out laughing, saying Hu claims he is fine but almost wet his pants. Hu tells him to stop talking nonsense, making everyone laugh. After a meal, Sue is already quite familiar with the 5 brothers at the post. After tidying up a few things, Heng begins cultivating the mental training method following the teacher's guidance. The protagonist thinks that the mental tempering method taught by the teacher is called the crystalline breathing tempering method and has 3 stages. The first is to eliminate stray thoughts and construct a crystalline meditation environment, meditating while imagining oneself as a crystal. The second is to cooperate with a wonderful special breathing frequency, allowing the mind to gradually merge with the meditation environment. Finally, the core of the tempering method is the tempering of the mind itself. Based on the current progress, it will take a long time to reach the soul crystal the teacher mentioned, possibly half a month or more. Geniuses like senior sister Bai took a full month to cultivate it completely. She is a monster. The moon is bright, lights suddenly shine from the top of a castle, and Sue notices that it is the emergency siren. Huang tells everyone to hurry out, saying something bad has happened. Locusts are moving toward them, and Heng observes through binoculars, saying that this dangerous species with armor and scythe-like limbs can easily shatter bricks with a swing, and appears to be a group of adult specimens. Huang says that scythe beasts are common along the northern defense line, but this type of insect has strong reproductive ability. With only 4 of them, it should not be too difficult to deal with. He orders everyone to prepare for battle, saying he will man the machine gun with Lao, Wen will shoot toward the northwest, Hu and Lu will take positions at firing trenches 5 and 6, and Ahwen and Huafu will kill the adults and guard what is growing for their brother. They all respond affirmatively. Bullets are fired. The locusts sense something approaching and activate their barrier, preventing the bullets from hitting them. But when the bullets make contact with the barrier, they shatter into pieces. Huang orders them to eliminate the targets and reminds them to aim for the head, otherwise the corpses will not be worth much. The protagonist thinks that the armor coverage ability of those scythe beasts is not very strong, but it greatly weakens the effect of normal bullets. He observes that using the machine gun to break open the barrier creates an opportunity for the sniper. Through the binoculars, Heng sees that they are defending with barriers, yet the guards continue firing until the barrier breaks. The blonde man, weapon in hand, says that now is his chance, fires, and lands a direct hit, destroying the target. The protagonist wonders if this is the northern defense line and thinks that even without being tamers, they have excellent teamwork. After countless battles together, they are strong enough to eliminate those beasts. The locusts are killed and they notice one escaping. Huang calls for Hu to take it out. They pursue it with the vehicle until they get close and stop. The insect notices them and watches cautiously. Su gets out of the vehicle and walks toward it, and Huang tells his partner to keep an eye on him, because those who come from the periphery to train often step too far forward, and they must not let him get hurt. Heng raises his ring, which emits light, and says to use the devil attack to see how good that guy really is. The dragon is summoned and uses its skill, devil attack. The locust activates its barrier, but the dragon effortlessly breaks through it and knocks it flying. The locust crashes to the ground and screams. The protagonist realizes that the armor blocks most of the attack and that it did not suffer serious damage, so he orders the use of Shadow Ball, continuous fire. The dragon flies forward with its terrifying aura and continues attacking. The locust activates the barrier again, but it begins to break once more, and Su watches closely. The locust also releases a powerful aura around its body. The two face each other, and the protagonist orders the dragon to use dragon power. The dragon stares at the opponent and opens its enormous mouth. The locust is terrified, and Su orders it to be destroyed. The dragon roars, and with the roar alone, a portion of the locust's body is sliced off. The insect begins to flee, and Heng asks whether it wants to run and whether it has permission, ordering the pet to use earth power. The dragon slams its paw into the ground, causing a massive impact and finishing off the locust. The guards inside the vehicle are shocked, and Hu says he does not think Su needs any help at all. Huang comments that he is very strong. The next day, Hu recounts the fight, saying he heard his brother shout, "Earth Spear Sacrifice," and the monster was easily finished. Huang says he is different from those who come only to train, that he is incredible and truly strong, and that he is impressed. The protagonist says no, that everyone performed well. A guard approaches, saying someone has arrived, and they go to take a look. When they see it, Huang says it is the headquarters convoy, finding it strange because usually when merits are counted, headquarters goes from post to post. He comments that they should not be there before noon, so why did they come so early? Su watches attentively. The commander-in-chief of the Northern Defense Line, Lu Ling, steps out of the vehicle and the guards greet him. Ling says that so many years have passed, yet nothing has changed. Huang says he never thought the commander would remember his name and feels honored, adding that it must have been a hard journey to get there. The commander replies that it is nothing, not a difficult trip at all, less than 10 minutes by car, and asks who Heng is and whether he's already used to staying there. Heng formally introduces himself to the commander-in-chief. Ling finds the title he is called by somewhat strange, and the protagonist replies that it is a pleasure to meet him and that he is already accustomed to living there. The commander pats his head and says it is great that he is already accustomed to the place. The teacher has mentioned several times that he has accepted another genius disciple this time, and he also heard from the chief of staff that he failed to see him during his last visit to headquarters because he had gone to exterminate a group of bastards. But this time, he came specifically to find him. The guards are surprised and wonder whether the commander-in-chief came all the way to such a small sentry post because of him. Huang thinks that he assumed Su was just an ordinary tamer and never imagined he was the lord of the castle's disciple, and feels relieved that nothing bad happened. Ling tells them not to stand around and to go count the sentry's harvest for the latter half of the month, asking them not to disturb him, and then orders Su to summon the dragon, saying that the teacher assigned him a special mission to check the dragon's growth status and report back when he has time. Heng thinks that he assumed the teacher would stop caring once he left the city, never imagining he would send someone to check on him. The dragon is summoned, and Ling is surprised when he sees it, saying that the teacher mentioned it has not even been a month since it hatched. The protagonist explains that after learning dragon energy circulation, the dragon has been circulating it constantly because of the battles of the past few days, so it grew quickly, and asks whether there is any problem. The commander replies that there is no issue, saying that Su's dragon is much larger than the one he raised back then, and that according to the teacher's request, he needs to test the dragon's combat experience. He adds that he also has a dragon-type pet and will use it to examine Su's, inviting him to play. A rhinoceros is summoned with a tremendous aura, and Ling explains that it is a dangerous species of the earth dragon type, just like Su's dragon, a high-danger species that he cultivated to the complete stage. With its thick skin and tough flesh, it can withstand attacks for a long time and is one of his main forces. The rhinoceros approaches while the dragon trembles in fear. Su asks him to take it easy and not eliminate the dragon, and Ling laughs at the word eliminate, telling him not to worry, that the rhinoceros knows when to stop and will not bully or injure the little one. Heng says to go ahead, and the commander comments that it seems the little dragon has just woken up, ordering the rhinoceros to use a ground stomp to wake it. The rhinoceros slams its foot into the ground, causing huge cracks and a massive shockwave. The protagonist observes and thinks this is the benefit of being able to control mental power after tempering. But now is not the time to dwell on that, so he orders his pet to use Devil Attack and get out of the attack range. The dragon grabs him onto its shoulder and begins to fly, and Heng orders it to use Shadow Ball continuously to return the favor. The dragon releases its skill, but the opponent remains unharmed. The protagonist realizes that defeating it with his current dragon is impossible. All he can do is demonstrate how much the dragon has grown so as not to disappoint the teacher who cares about him. He orders the dragon to take advantage of its speed and attack from all directions. The dragon flies around, releasing even faster attacks, opens its massive jaws, and unleashes a powerful strike that injures the opponent's back. Su then orders it to absorb energy to recover. The dragon lands on the ground while the rhinoceros remains unmoving, staring at it. Heng orders the pet to use Dragon Power, Earth Spear Sacrifice, creating a massive impact, yet the opponent still remains intact. However, the rhinoceros grows irritated, slams its foot into the ground, and flings the dragon far away, making it crash onto the ground. Ling comments that Su's tactics are good, but unfortunately, the rhinoceros's skill has already reached level 9, making it very easy to defend against the dragon and the Earth Spear. The protagonist asked whether he did not ask him to use all tactics so he could complete the mission given by the teacher. The commander replies that he already understands the dragon's combat capability fairly well and that it is quite good. The teacher will be very satisfied. The growth speed of Su's dragon is much faster than that of the senior brothers, and the teacher truly accepted an excellent disciple. Not long after the senior brother departs, winter begins. The outpost becomes extremely cold, with no walls sufficient to block the icy northern winds whistling through. Without electrical devices or heating, the only thing to rely on seems to be a sleeping bag. The blonde man trembles and complains that it is freezing, saying it is only winter and asking when it will end. Another companion remarks that since brother Su became a tamer, he has mental protection, so he does not feel the cold as much. Suddenly, the siren sounds and they all jump up immediately. Huang says it is a call from control post number 3 in the northern section. Plantation number 25 has been invaded by a group of dangerous species. Huang tells brother Hu and Su to come with him, and orders Lao to bring Wen and Xia to stay behind and keep watch. They respond and move quickly to their tasks. They get into the vehicle and a voice reports that, according to Captain Li, the situation is critical. Plantation number 25 has been completely breached, with many dangerous species entering the area. All plantation workers are trapped inside the staff dormitory and are currently relying on broken DUNS codes distributed by the security department to defend themselves, but sooner or later they will lose their lives. Support from Outposts 3 and 4, along with the main forces of the 2 nearby outposts, has already been largely dispatched to converge on the plantation. They should be assembled before 4 in the morning and launch the assault at 4, and since it is already 3:40, Lu needs to drive faster. At plantation number 25, northwest area, gate number 6, Huang reports that Northern Section 7 has arrived. The guard orders them to drive quickly to their battle positions and says the information will be shared over the radio frequency. Over the radio, a voice reports that reconnaissance has been completed. The bastards broke through the northwest wall at Gate 6 and are currently in the grain area, feasting on the corpses of plantation workers. All survivors have been relocated to staff shelters for defense. All team members must line up their vehicles in a spearhead formation. 2 armored vehicles will serve as the vanguard, advancing directly toward the plantation dormitory and opening fire. The invading dangerous species this time is a pack of rotten toxic wolves. They have strong vitality, so they must aim for the head, eliminate them as quickly as possible, and rescue the trapped personnel. They begin firing, aiming for the heads. The lead wolf observes and lets out a howl. The protagonist senses something wrong and asks his partner to slow the vehicle and create some distance. Huang asks what is wrong, and Su replies that he heard a strange howl just now and asks if they heard it too. Huang explains that dangerous species like rotten toxic wolves have a certain chance of evolving into a supreme leader, and although the probability is very low, something is definitely wrong. Heng tells them to look closely and notices that the wolves are deliberately creating distance, wondering what they are planning. He comments that it is no wonder they managed to break through the plantation's defenses using only dangerous species. The lead wolf reveals a murderous gaze and releases an innate ability of rotten toxic wolves, wolf smoke. People in the vehicle ask what it is and whether it is poisonous fog. Over the radio, a voice orders them to activate infrared targeting, remain alert, and avoid accidentally injuring comrades. The protagonist says it will not be that simple and that they need to retreat. But then the wolves begin leaping onto the vehicles, tearing everything apart with their massive jaws. Su says this is a shadow wolf companion, and that the special ability of a rotten toxic wolf leader is companionship, meaning there is another leader. Huang says that one is coming. A wolf charges at their vehicle, smashing the windows and flipping it onto its side. Huang begins firing, but says it is too tough and they cannot penetrate its armor. The wolf leaps onto the vehicle, ripping chunks away. Heng remains calm and summons his pet. The dragon releases its terrifying aura and uses dragon power, intimidation, creating immense pressure, then follows up with evil thought bullet, rapid fire, causing explosions and blowing off the wolf's head as its body collapses to the ground. The protagonist speaks into the radio, telling the commander to avoid friendly fire and requesting a ceasefire, saying he will handle the rotten toxic wolf leader. The commander watches through binoculars and thinks that he truly is Bao Zhu's direct disciple. Seeing such combat power in an apprentice is astonishing. He thanks him for the fire support but says to leave the rotten toxic leader to them, as they will deal with the other scum and not let them interfere with the battle. Su gets out of the vehicle, noting that the poisonous fog is extremely dense, and asks where the hell the rotten toxic wolf leader is. Huang points it out. Heng looks and sees the leader wolf destroying a vehicle while a guard cries for help. The protagonist orders the monster to stop and commands his pet to use surprise attack. The dragon strikes, making the wolf spit blood and sending it flying. The leader grows even more enraged and charges again. The guard thanks Su for saving him, saying he thought he would lose his life. Su tells him not to stand there and to start running, but the wolf leader thrusts its enormous razor-sharp claws straight through him before he can even move. The leader pulls back its claw and the guard's body collapses to the ground. Heng is shocked and orders his pet to use Earth Spear Sacrifice. The dragon slams its paw into the ground, causing a massive impact, and the system notifies that the rotten toxic wolf has released the enlightened power Shadow Assault, triggering a violent explosion. The protagonist says it is a good opportunity and orders Hu to suppress it with heavy fire, since the wolf is now outside the convoy's range. Hu responds that he understands. They open fire. The wolf leader tries to dodge, but before it even realizes what is happening, the dragon lunges forward and bites it. Su says he knew it would try to escape and orders the pet to intimidate it. While flying, the dragon releases Dragon Power 1, strikes the opponent again, and finishes it. Afterward, the vehicle continues through the mountains. Huang asks what is wrong with him and whether he is feeling down, and Heng replies that he is fine, he just wishes he could have done more. Huang says that according to past conventions, support is usually not even mobilized for an invasion of dangerous species on this scale, and that without him, the casualties this time would have at least doubled, because he helped a great deal. Huang shows a scar on his arm and says it is from the first time he participated in a plantation support battle, explaining that that battle was even more dangerous than this one, with more than 50 people dead or wounded, and an armored vehicle destroyed and turned into scrap by a super dangerous adult species called the golden-backed steel-arm ape, whose attacks ground the crew members into minced flesh. In the end, it was the senior brother, the commander-in-chief of the Northern Front at the time, their martial elder brother, who personally took action and eliminated that beast to end the battle. He offers a few swallows of alcohol, saying it will make him feel better. The protagonist takes it, thanks him, and says he understands what he means. Huang says it is inevitable that ordinary people in these settlements live like floating duckweed with no roots to cling to, that no one can guarantee that if they fall asleep today, they will wake up to see the sun tomorrow, and that only by becoming someone like him can they truly gain the power to control their own fate. Su tells them not to overthink it and asks one for food, and Huang replies that they will eat a lot and wear that stinky kid out. The plantation support battle is the first time Heng faces massive casualties head-on. He behaves like a true warrior, and after a brief period of mourning, finally understands that only by constantly growing stronger can he protect himself and also protect the people around him in this chaotic world. In the following month, the protagonist enters special training for both himself and his pet, following the ancient dragon canon, and the results are remarkable. In addition to growing larger, the serpent dragon lizard's control over the 3 elemental energies becomes stronger, skills are developed one after another, and their effects become several times more powerful than before. While Su is immersed in training, Watch Post number 1 receives a familiar visitor. Ling arrives riding a lion and says it has been quite a long time. Heng thinks it looks really cool and wonders whether the pet has a mount attribute. Ling jumps down and says he heard that Su participated in a plantation support battle last time, and that his field performance was excellent. According to the senior brother, the commander at the time even submitted a report and praised him specifically. He truly is a student valued by the teacher. The protagonist asked whether the teacher did not say he should do a test once a month, and whether it has already been a month since he last left. Ling asks whether it was once, and says nobody really cares, explaining that he happened to have some free time these days, and came over to avoid the teacher complaining later when he becomes too busy. He orders Su to release the serpent dragon so he can train it, saying they can talk later. Su responds that he understands and summons the pet, which is much larger than last time. Ling is shocked, saying it is growing extremely fast and asking whether the cultivation formula is perfect or something like that. Heng asks how that could be possible and says he has always used the teacher's G-Men formula. Maybe the little lizard just absorbs it better, and then tells him to put the serpent dragon away, saying there is no need to test further. Ling explains that according to the teacher's instructions, once the serpent dragon lizard reaches the mid-growth stage, the training on the northern front will be considered complete, so they should pack up the materials and prepare to return to the castle to meet the teacher. The protagonist asks whether he really can go back so soon. The companions behind ask whether he really can leave so early and say they cannot bear to see him go and will not be able to sleep. The blonde asks if that is really the case, saying everyone seems to be in a great mood and whether they should let the little lizard run with them for a race. Sue plays along, saying it really does seem like everyone is in a great mood and asking whether they should let the lizard run with them. Huang asks why he is looking at him like that and says Ah Wun cannot sleep, and Heng replies that no one will escape. Everyone will run with the little one. The next day at the Dark Lamp Training Hall gathering point, the protagonist lies flat on the ground, exhausted, saying he cannot take it anymore. Lin Fu, the trusted disciple of the Fortress Master, his steward and loyal servant, comments that he lasted quite a long time under his bombardment and that, just as the Fortress Master said, he did not slack off this month, reporting to the Master that he gained a good disciple who, although not as talented as the senior sister, is persistent enough. Zhou says he did not expect the training to be completed in just 1 month and declares it a success, asking how it was for him and saying it must have been hard. Sue replies that not at all, thinking that through practice and training he can clearly feel growth and challenges at every moment, which is far better than the 3 years spent incubating and hatching the beast egg without any progress, and wonders how such a life could be considered difficult. He also feels that being able to train and cultivate the dragon to this point far exceeded his expectations. Zhou says that this also gives him confidence in the plans he has for the protagonist in the future. Heng asks what the arrangements are, wondering whether they will go to the outer perimeter of the watch post, but the Fortress Master replies that they will not, saying he is preparing him to participate in the 6 territories duel to be held in 1 month. The 6 territories duel is held once a year, jointly organized by 6 major gathering places to compete for the opportunity to enter the Blood Forest ruins. Although it is called a duel, in reality it is a competition for the chance to explore those ruins. The protagonist asks whether so much effort is really necessary just to explore ruins, and whether there are not similar ruins near the gathering place. Zhou explains that the Blood Forest ruins are completely different from ordinary ruins found anywhere in the wilderness because the outer area of the ruins is separated by a hidden energy barrier that prevents entry, and moreover, the ruins are occupied by a powerful and terrifying race. The master of the hidden area is an unimaginably powerful creature. Years ago, the 6 major gathering places joined forces and reached an agreement with it after a fierce battle, and under the pressure and probing of the 6, it agreed to open the hidden area once a year to allow 3 human beast masters to enter and explore, thus giving rise to the 6 territories duel. Sue says this exploration opportunity is extremely rare and asks whether that means the competition will be intense, and whether, with his current strength, he can participate and has any chance of winning. Zhou tells him not to worry, explaining that the area open to humans by the master of the Blood Forest ruins is only the outer perimeter of the ruins, while the inner area and core are inaccessible. For a novice like him, it is already a true treasure, but for real masters, it is not particularly attractive. Heng declares that since the teacher has said so, he will definitely compete for a slot and bring it back, and he says that is the spirit. Besides him, there will be 4 other participants, and tomorrow arrangements will be made for them to meet and get acquainted, after which a new round of training will begin. The protagonist asks where this new training will take place, and the Fortress Master replies that it will be in the Grizzly Forest. South of the gathering place lies a vast black forest covering an immense area known as the Gray Bear Forest, beyond the southern wilderness. A staggering number of wild bears live there, all enormous creatures about 4 meters long and weighing several tons. However, due to their inability to utilize energy, they are not considered dangerous species, yet occasionally the bear groups give birth to incredibly powerful evolved individuals that become legendary figures even trainers admire from afar, earning a reputation as beings capable of soothing crying infants. Sue asks whether the Gray Bear Forest is not a forbidden area, and Zhou replies that he will understand the situation when the time comes, and that before that, he should go back and rest for a few days. Later, elsewhere, Heng thinks that the advanced support of 250,000 grams of steel credits provided before going to the watch post is almost exhausted, and that the next support will not be distributed for another half-month. To maintain the current growth rate, there can be no shortage of food, and advancing by relying only on this is not a long-term solution. So it seems he needs to find a way to make money. In fact, as a trainer, there are many ways to earn profits. Healing-type trainers can make decent gains by treating injuries and illnesses. Plant-type trainers can receive substantial rewards by increasing crop yields on large plantations. Water and electric-type trainers can also go to the resource department at the gathering point. However, with the help of the ancestral dragon manual, there may be even more efficient methods. In the Black Lantern Gathering market, merchants shout to attract attention, offering the best and newest goods, big discounts, 1 gram of steel credit, 3 grams of credit, and so on. The protagonist wanders around wanting to make use of the ancestral dragon manual, but finds nothing after half a day of roaming until a merchant calls for everyone's attention and talks about high-price buybacks, saying he purchases dense black fat at an excellent price, long-term. Sue approaches, places money on the counter, and asks whether he buys dense black fat. The old man replies that he does, at a high price, and asks why and whether Sue happens to have some. Heng answers that he does not, that he only wanted to ask what the use of buying that stuff is. The old man says that is none of his business, that if he has it, he will buy it, and if not, he should leave quickly and stop meddling. The protagonist calculates the grams of steel credit per milliliter of dense black fat and concludes that 1 liter is worth 83,000 grams of steel credit. He did not expect anyone to buy dense black fat at such a high price, and finally finds a way to make money. According to the records of the ancient dragon manual, by mixing black octopus mucus, black oak resin, and thickening fusion agent in a ratio of 3 to 1 to 2 and refining them at high temperature for a few minutes, dense black fat can be prepared. Although, according to the description in the manual, the dense black tree that naturally produces this fat is already extinct, it is not a rare item in the Black Lantern collection market. Therefore, as long as he can obtain the thickening fusion agent, he can succeed in this profitable business. Elsewhere, Sue tells his pet to stomp twice, the dragon stomps, and the furnace ignites. While Heng prepares the mixture, he keeps ordering the pet to stomp. The Black Lantern Gathering market has a very special organization among its 5 offices and 13 locations, known as the Dangerous Bioenergy Research Department, whose function is to study dangerous creatures and peculiar energy substances. The research department has 3 institutes which are likely the true buyers purchasing large quantities of dense black fat. The protagonist thinks that although selling a large amount of this fat on the market could yield a considerable sum of money, they must be careful not to let the secrets of the ancient dragon manual be discovered. Dense black trees are not only rare, but also grow extremely slowly, and in addition, some herbivorous, dangerous species love to feed on the tender branches and leaves of these trees, making trees over 1 meter tall extremely rare. Therefore, if a large amount of dense black fat suddenly appears on the market, it will certainly attract the attention of higher authorities. The best approach is to find a shop that can handle the goods, sell them at a discount, and leave quickly. Sue notices something ahead, a steel trading shop. He enters, places several potions on the table, and says that it is 30 liters, 2.5 million grams of steel credit, and asks whether they can handle it. The merchant says they can and asks where he got so much. Heng shows his dagger and says not to ask questions. The clerk, frightened, replies that some things are better left unknown. The door slams shut and the protagonist leaves with coins in his hand, thinking that they cannot use this money immediately, and that the best option is to go to the inner fortress and exchange only a small amount of ingredients for the serpent, dragon, lizard, waiting until things calm down. It is also a good opportunity to meet the teammates for special training. Elsewhere, a voice says that he knows Sue and that, speaking of it, they participated together in special training. And Sue seemed like an ordinary person with no talent as a trainer. This is Wang Shun, who also comments that he never thought about it, but it turns out that by chance the protagonist was appreciated by the castle lord and accepted as a disciple, which is truly extraordinary luck. Luo Chong says that Sue is very lucky, that the castle lord really wants him to be the captain of this duel. Lena comments that last year her class captain lost the chance to enter the secret place even after finishing 4th, yet still possessed extraordinary strength. A girl says that no one dares to question the castle lord's decision, much less them, because even the teacher does not dare disobey the castle lord. Everyone knows Heng, but they have to admit they misjudged him. His first pet is the most dangerous serpent dragon lizard, and none of those present have a high-level dangerous species, and she asks whether that is not enough to explain the difference. An elder says that if the castle lord has something to do, he will not come there, that several teammates have already arrived and Heng should go meet them first, and tells them not to be shy. The 5 of them should talk and introduce themselves, and he will leave first so as not to interrupt the young people's gathering. They stand up and tell the elder to take care. The door closes and Wang says that the captain is here. Lena states that there is only one captain who controls the pets, and the protagonist looks around sensing something wrong with the atmosphere. A girl calls out and introduces herself as Lin Yoxin, saying she has been a tamer for over a year and is now an official tamer. She currently has 2 pets, a mid-level dangerous adult phantom flower tiger and a mid-level dangerous adult electric-tailed swallow. Sue also introduces himself, saying he became a tamer 2 months ago and is currently an official tamer, with only one upper-level dangerous serpent dragon lizard that is in the middle of growth. Luo says that is amazing, becoming an official in 2 months, and having a serpent dragon lizard, the most dangerous species, as the first pet is incredible. Heng says he is right, it really is better than him, and Chong responds that he wants to see something stronger than himself and summons his red-scaled beast. The animal is summoned, and Luo asks whether the protagonist is afraid. He thinks that compared to this guy, the serpent dragon lizard really would not have much chance of winning. But with the help of the ancient dragon code, if he cannot crush him to the finish during the competition, he can at least find a piece of tofu to crush to the finish. He says he has watched for a long time, that it is not bad at all, and asks whether it does not look like a high-level dangerous species, telling him not to do that. Chong retorts that this is a gathering organized by the castle lord and that he should think about the consequences. Lena says not to worry, that the castle lord will not take action against him, but no one knows what the guards will do if he summons beasts at will inside the castle. Sue comments that it is better if he does not run into him in the duel a month from now. Luo says they do not even have the awareness to unite and fight for Lena's reputation, where the Black Lanterns gather, and Heng thinks it is better not to have such a teammate now. The protagonist steps away, saying not to worry, there will be opportunities to deal with him in the future. The door closes and Luo is irritated, but Wang tells him not to mind it as there will be a chance to deal with him later. Sue walks upstairs thinking that, as agreed with the teacher, they will go to the Bear Forest tomorrow and that those few teammates who were unconvinced should also be tested by the teacher. If he makes good use of the special training in the Bear Forest, when he returns he should become a worthy captain. The next morning at Heng's home, someone knocks on the door. It is a young man saying he is the Black Lantern War Chief, Zhang Cheng. A voice tells him to come in, they enter, and Zhang shows a map saying that this is where the Black Lanterns gather, and that this is their destination this time, a small to medium gathering point on the edge of the Black Bear Forest, the city of Ermet. The city of Ermet lies in a straight line to the left of the Black Lantern gathering point, but only half the distance between the two places has repaired roads, so the actual route is more winding. The distance is a little over 150 kilometers, and in addition to dangers and uncontrollable factors that may be encountered along the road, the protagonist says it will probably take 1 or 2 days, so they should prepare. Chung asks whether he has any questions, and Sue replies that he does not and tells them to set off immediately. In a forest, the vehicle moves along. The Black Lantern gathering point is located in the Gray Wilderness, as are Rivet Town and Grizzly Grove, an extremely vast area with dozens of large gathering points, many others of medium and small size, and even more refuge camps scattered throughout the wilds. The vehicle keeps moving, and Zhang says this is the place and tells them to wait, explaining that he will continue on afterward and rest here for the night. Someone atop the fortress introduces himself as Chanam, deputy mayor of Drew Prefecture, and asks whether they are from the Black Lantern gathering area. Chung introduces himself as the leader of the 5th Tactical Group of the 1st Squadron of the Black Lantern Castle Guard 3rd Detachment, and says he needs to go into the city for repairs. Over the radio, a voice asks for the latest password, and Zhang provides it. A gate opens and Chanam approaches, saying they have come from far away and worked hard. Zhang says he's in a good mood and that this time he brought distinguished guests, asking them to help arrange accommodations. The deputy mayor asks what is going on with him and tells them to go in first. Elsewhere, a voice says that these are the beast control materials prepared for Sue. Zhang introduces Chen Han, saying he will be responsible, and Heng thanks him. The protagonist moves his ring, summons the dragon, and tells it to go eat something. Everyone is shocked by his level of pet control, and Chen jokes that he wonders whether Sue even opened the box, because the beast looks like it is going to eat the container along with the food. The dragon opens the crate and begins devouring everything at high speed, leaving everyone astonished. Han says Chanam is different from the Black Lantern gathering point, that there is no curfew and the nightlife is lively. Many comrades stationed in Chanam go to the bar at the foot of the mountain to have fun, and he invites Sue to join them. Heng replies that they can go have fun if they want, but he will not go himself, and asks whether Han can help him find a guide since he wants to walk around the city. Someone knocks on the door. It is a little girl asking whether he is looking for a guide. She apologizes for overhearing the conversation and explains that Grandpa Andrew asked her to bring Lord Cha's specialty. Chen confirms that she is indeed Mayor Andrew's granddaughter, and says that if Sue wants a guide, she is perfect. Lena agrees excitedly. The city of Chanam is quite distinctive. Its architectural style is very different from Black Lantern Castle. Most houses have triangular roofs and square or rectangular shapes with strong three-dimensionality, and according to the traditions of the people of Trondheim, residents like to paint the exterior of their homes black and brown. According to Lena, there are hundreds of such houses throughout Chanam, as well as shops and businesses, built along the mountain slope of Chenem. Higher up the slope, there is a small castle of earth and stone that looks like a fortress. That small castle is the original Chanam and the seat of the city hall. Lena confirms this and adds that tonight there will be a special beast fight at the Chanam Coliseum, asking whether he is interested. The protagonist asks about the Coliseum, and Lena explains that guards and residents occasionally capture wild beasts, and the Colosseum uses them for duels and events to attract spectators. If a beast is injured and dies in battle, it is not wasted but butchered and distributed as meat to the residents. Coincidentally, today someone offered the Colosseum a special beast that no one in Chennai has ever seen before. It will fight an adult wild tiger, and the match has attracted a large crowd. Su thinks that although a wild tiger is only a common beast, it is ferocious and unusually aggressive, and observing it could be useful for cultivating the little lizard, so he asked to be taken to see it. The attendant hands over 2 tickets and asks Lena whether she has a boyfriend, who that handsome guy is, whether he is new, and why she has never seen him in Chennai. Lena gets annoyed, tells her to stop talking nonsense, and urges them to go inside quickly. People recognize Lena and greet her, and one even invites her to sit with them. She thanks him and says it is not convenient today, but definitely next time. Heng thinks she is quite well known here. A man approaches calling her niece, and asks why she has time to come today. Lena calls him uncle and says she is accompanying a distinguished guest, telling him to prepare the best booth in the Colosseum, or she will complain to his grandfather. Lad looks at the protagonist, notices the master ring, and realizes that someone of this status must never be offended. He says it is an honor to receive him, and welcomes him to the Chennai Colosseum, and the protagonist replies that it is a pleasure to meet him. A roar echoes through the arena as the host announces that the beast fight is about to begin. The crowd cheers excitedly, and she announces that, just as everyone expected, the city guard has brought in a wild tiger with a body exceeding 3 meters in length and weighing over 600 kilograms. A tiger appears at the side, and 2 boys in the audience comment that it was captured in the trap of Chennai's best hunter, a Saizi, and that this wild tiger looks to be in excellent condition, brimming with ferocity, a true beast. One of them shouts for the match to start, and Lena, extremely excited, shouts as well. The host asks the audience to calm down and announces today's challenger, admitting that she has never seen such a strange creature before and hopes that this little guy, caught by accident, will bring everyone some surprises. A cage is thrown into the center, and the little guy inside looks dazed. The tiger approaches, and it runs away, scrambling up the bars. The crowd laughs, saying it is the first time they have seen something flee like that. The protagonist wonders what it is and whether it could be what he is thinking. The tiger opens its massive jaws and lunges at its opponent. The little guy screams in fright and keeps running, the tiger chasing after it as the pressure grows more intense. People comment on its speed, saying they thought the creature would be finished immediately, but did not expect such a turnaround. A small boy asks his mother what kind of beast that is. Su thinks that according to the records of the ancient dragon code, among dangerous creatures there are 4 rare species that almost only appear in rumors, recognized as powerful and incredible, and thus called the 4 gods of rumor. The 4 rumored species are mystery, enigma, miracle, and muth. Speed and reactions like this cannot belong to ordinary animals. Combined with the golden seal on its forehead and its round body, that little beast is one of the 4 rumored races, the mystical treasure hunting race. Treasure hunters are extremely dangerous species, but almost non-aggressive, possessing an exceptionally rare mysterious ability, born to seek out and feed on treasures. Their traces usually appear only in extremely dangerous large-scale ruins, and can indicate the presence of a hidden realm. He never expected to encounter such a creature here, and cannot miss this opportunity, so he asks whether he can buy that little beast. Lena replies that the beast was sold to her uncle by the brewmaster of the cellar, Rio Rad, who owns the Colosseum, and that the Colosseum's beasts are his wealth. Heng says it would be best to ask her to take him to meet him. In another room, a man says he is afraid it will not work. Even though he is a friend, he cannot agree to such a request because she knows the Colosseum's rules. Unless one side is injured and loses combat effectiveness or even dies, the fight cannot be stopped. Lena pleads, but the man replies that it is not really about money. Lena says she knows that the little creature was sold for 4,000 grams of steel at the old shop and offers 8,000 grams of steel, asking whether that is enough. The man reminds her that she knows not even her father, from old Lad's generation, ever broke the Colosseum's rules, and says that Lad is concerned about the registered bets and sold tickets. Su says that from what he knows, that little creature is not only rare but an extremely special species, and asks whether he really wants to let it be eliminated in the arena. The man replies that Su has misunderstood, that he has his reasons, but he does not want to break the rules. Heng says he has an idea. Meanwhile, in the arena, a voice announces that due to special circumstances, the beast fight may have to be terminated. The crowd becomes irritated, saying they bought tickets and were excited for the show, but the voice asks for patience and begins to explain. First, all ticket holders will receive triple refunds, and those who placed bets will receive full refunds. Second, the Colosseum will present a spectacular duel, and here is the challenger, Su. The crowd erupts in excitement, asking whether this will be a battle between humans and beasts, and saying it has been years since such a confrontation happened. The tiger opens its massive jaws and charges forward, and everyone fears the challenger will be finished. Lena says they must win. Heng extends his hand with the ring and summons the dragon. The tiger freezes, and the crowd watches in shock, exclaiming that it is a dangerous species, a dragon, and commenting that the last time they saw one in Chennam was 3 months ago, so today it was not in vain. The administrator wishes the Colosseum prosperity and is stunned, thinking that being able to raise such a dangerous species at such a young age is impressive, and that fortunately he was polite earlier, as it seems the little beast was lucky this time. The dragon stares down its opponent as the protagonist calls to his pet. The dragon releases a powerful aura, creating tremendous pressure, and the tiger holds up a little sign asking not to be eliminated, as if saying this is unfair. Then they notice something else. The little guy moves quickly again. Sue thinks that judging by its body shape alone, it looks like a child in the early growth stage, but its reactions and speed are so fast that they clearly indicate a mysterious race. He orders his pet to attack. The dragon lunges toward the little creature and Heng commands it to use the second stage of enlightenment. As the smoke dissipates, the dragon opens its massive jaws and stretches out its claws about to strike, but the little guy moves even faster and dodges. The protagonist orders his pet to unleash the second shock, and the dragon releases an absurdly violent power, making everyone feel fear as they ask whether that really is the power of a beast tamer, saying that if he were to lose control of such a creature, the entire city might be annihilated. While the little guy trembles in terror, the dragon approaches, grabs him in its hand, and carries him back to its master. Later, inside the Colosseum administrator's office, the man says it is incredible that this is the first time he has seen a tamer capable of controlling the most dangerous species at such a young age. Sue says it is an exaggeration and asks to be forgiven, but admits that he is truly curious and asks how such an extremely fast creature was captured. The man asks if he is referring to the little guy and explains that as a vassal of Black Lantern Castle, Chennam is not only an important supply point on the southern line, but is also famous for wine production, and that it was precisely Chennam's wine that initially attracted the attention of Black Lantern Castle and led to its status as a vassal. The person who captured the little one was Old Cumin, the city's master brewer, and it is said that the little guy sneaked into the wine cellar 3 or 4 times and ruined several barrels of 30-year-old wine that were meant to be offered as tribute to the lord of Black Lantern Castle. Old Cumin and his apprentices stood guard for 7 days, then thought it had all failed and returned, only to find the little fellow drunk and drowsy inside a wine barrel, so they simply sold him. Heng says that now he understands that a treasure-hunting species is born with a mysterious power to seek advantages and avoid disadvantages, but this one is so stupid that it got itself drunk. Outside Sue's residence, the protagonist thanks the little girl for everything and says that he now owes her a great favor. Lena replies that it does not matter, that it was only a small problem, and that she heard he will be traveling tomorrow, so it is better to rest early. Sue says that is fine, that he will explain things to Chen and the others and bring back some interesting items from Highling next time. Then, in his room, Heng asks the little guy in the cage what that expression is about and says that if it were not for him saving him from the Colosseum, whether he believes it or not, he would have lost his life there sooner or later, and the little guy's eyes fill with tears. The protagonist thinks that the steel bars of the cage are no thicker than a little finger, and that if it were a dragon serpent lizard, it would easily destroy the cage and escape once it grew to the size of a treasure hunter, which makes it seem that this mysterious treasure-hunting beast truly lacks aggressiveness. The next step is to establish a bond with it, but the ancient dragon code says nothing about what the little guy likes, so Sue says to forget it, and that it is better to let him go hungry for a few days, so he will eat anything he is given. At that moment, the ring begins to glow and Heng realizes that, while focused on the treasure hunter, he forgot the dragon's dinner. So he places a box on the table and starts preparing food, and the little guy becomes excited. Sue stirs the food while the treasure hunter watches closely with interest, and Heng says that if the dragon eats 3 times the normal amount, it should be able to reach the rivet formation by tomorrow night. The little guy is practically drooling with desire. The dragon is summoned and immediately stares at the food and starts devouring everything. The treasure hunter feels intense longing and sadness at not having eaten anything. The protagonist asks if he wants some too, scoops a bit with a spoon, and calls him over to eat. The little guy starts eating eagerly, and Heng thinks that, unexpectedly, the treasure-hunting beast likes eating the dragon serpent lizard's food, and now it will finally not starve anymore. When the little guy finishes, the protagonist asks if he wants more, but when he reaches for it, the dragon has already eaten everything. Sue comments that if this does not work, the dragon will have to eat less in the future so that some can be left for the treasure hunter. The dragon becomes annoyed, and Heng says it is fine since it is the older brother and should act like one, so today he can let the two of them have fun together. Elsewhere, Lena takes her leave early, and the next morning, the protagonist bids her farewell and sets off for Rivet Town. Compared to Chennam, Rivet Town, a medium-sized gathering point, is obviously much larger. This small city has a large-scale smeltery that mainly produces 3 metals, iron, copper, and aluminum. But according to Jung Chung, there are also some internal stories involving Rivet Town and the Grizzly Bear Forest. However, due to discipline, Zhang could not explain them clearly, so Heng could only wait until arrival to naturally understand. After entering Rivet Town, Su feels a strong industrial atmosphere, with the air filled with the burnt smell of coking coal and steelmaking. And Chung sends him to the management meeting at the city center, where the protagonist finally understands what could not be clearly explained before. He learns that Rivet City has thousands of residents and a guard force of 150 people, and that in name it is an independent small to medium gathering point in the Grey Wilderness. But in practice, it is a vassal of the Black Lantern gathering point, mainly supplying metals and crops, and that the minerals mined by the city are actually located within the Grizzly Bear Forest. It is impossible for ordinary people to mine in the Grizzly Bear Forest, and the reason Rivet City managed to successfully extract a large amount of ore there leaves Su even more shocked. The entire bear forest is in fact the professor's domain, or more precisely, the domain of one of the professor's controlled pets, which can even control all the bears throughout the entire forest to a certain extent through pet control. Inside the management committee hall, Hank thinks that he already tried his best to imagine the professor as powerful, but did not expect the power and fear he inspires to be far more unfathomable than imagined. According to the committee, there are currently 4 beast tamers stationed in the Grizzly Forest. Among them, the strongest is a near-professional veteran tamer from Black Lantern Castle, and the other 3 are also above the level of high-grade tamers. Although there are people from the Black Lanterns on the surface, inside the room, the dragon is sleeping, and the protagonist watches the little guy, thinking that for a beast tamer, a precious pet is no different from the temptation of money, power, and status for ordinary people. It would be extremely foolish to gamble on whether the trainers in the Grizzly Forest can recognize the mysterious treasure-hunting beast and choose the better path, so he asks whether the little guy would like to be his partner. The little guy sticks out his tongue, and Su says to forget it, that they should eat first and talk later. The dragon immediately wakes up, and Heng asks what the two of them want to do, and says to just serve a meal without saying a word. After learning that there are 4 powerful trainers in the Grizzly Forest, the protagonist, who originally planned to head there immediately, instead chooses to stay in Rivet Town for 3 days. The reason is simple: to find a way to establish a spiritual bond with the treasure hunter, so that he can control it at any time. However, this matter is not as easy as he imagined, as every time Su tries to establish a spiritual bond, he is repelled by the consciousness of the treasure-hunting beast. Even after flipping through the ancient dragon code, he finds no relevant records, so Heng simply comes up with a stupid idea and asks whether the little guy is not a treasure hunter, saying that he will take him treasure hunting right now. Unfortunately, things are not as simple as imagined, and the protagonist jokes about treasure hunting, saying that all he did that morning was chase butterflies and asking whether, after discovering that he is a useless beast, he should not just feed him to the dragon. The little guy gets angry and begins to release energy, and Su asks whether he found something. The little guy points his finger. Heng looks behind and asks whether he means he sensed the aura of treasure from that direction. The little guy tilts his head, and the protagonist wonders whether this time it is real, thinking that there seems to be a wave of mysterious energy in his body. Su smiles and says he does not want to go, that it might just be some kind of fake, and that it is better to go home and cook for the dragon serpent lizard. The little guy starts pointing insistently, and Heng asks whether he really wants to go, whether he wants that treasure so badly, and why he should help him obtain it. The little guy lowers his head sadly, and the protagonist says that he likes doing good deeds. But for that, the little guy has to agree to one request, and the little guy becomes afraid of being made into a slave. Su asks whether he is worried about that and explains that it is only to establish a spiritual connection, not to subjugate him. The little guy understands, and the two bump fists. Heng thinks that it is impossible to establish a spiritual bond overnight, and even if it is proposed, it is easy to be rejected. While establishing a spiritual connection is different because as long as the other side no longer resists, it will not be difficult to gradually form the bond. Elsewhere, someone hands over a bottle. It is the attendant saying that the signed spiritual harmonium is there. The protagonist enters the place, and the attendant asks whether he wants a glass of the special drink. Su replies that he is just visiting, and the attendant gets annoyed, wondering whether he is the type of person who goes to a bar at noon just to look around and mutters to 2 young men that this guy looks strange, maybe a foreign mercenary or connected to those soldiers, asking whether they should check what he is doing there. Heng asks what that is and whether it is a treasure hunter or a junk hunter. He comes across items that look extremely old until he notices something and thinks that it cannot be the transformation color stone mentioned in the ancient dragon code. The journey of beast control and dragon transformation is filled with hardships, and the demand for evolution materials is almost absurd, with transformation color stones being the core materials required by extremely powerful dragon species on the path of transformation. And he never imagined that he would encounter something he barely even dared to hope for, all thanks to the treasure-hunting beast, which truly is a mysterious existence. The attendant asks why he is standing there in a daze and whether he is a guest or here to cause trouble, and Heng replies that he wants a price for that stone. The attendant asks if he wants to buy that landscaping stone and thinks that it is true the boss found that stone in wilderness ruins, but even after searching it, many big shots found it useless apart from being pretty. So it was considered a landscaping stone and placed in the shop as decoration. But if he said that out loud, other customers would feel the shop had no taste. The attendant says that thing is so precious and invites him to have a drink before leaving, saying that he cannot afford it, and the protagonist tells him to name a price. The attendant replies 10,000, and Sue takes out the money and places it on the table. The attendant feels embarrassed, and Heng thinks it is a fair price, saying he can pay without any discount, but that it is their responsibility to remit the amount to the building administration. The attendant notices his master ring and immediately apologizes for the insult, saying that he did not realize a master ring holder had entered the shop, that the stone must be delivered and the price is negotiable, apologizing again and revealing that the real price is only 1 gram of gold. The protagonist says that trainers risk their lives to protect the gathering point, not so that people inside can take advantage of them, and hopes there will not be a next time, and the three repeatedly promise it will never happen again. In the process of subjugating a pet, there are 2 situations in which it can be done quickly. One is when an overwhelmingly powerful controller subjugates a low-level pet, and the other is when the pet itself agrees and even wants to be subjugated by the tamer. And the treasure-hunting beast at this moment belongs to the latter. In order to subjugate it within these 3 days in Rivet Town, Sue racked his brains, going on treasure hunts through a city full of rivets and delicious food. And he even acted like a mother, telling bedtime stories to the treasure hunter. Of course, cakes were also indispensable. For example, promising to take it to treasure hunting ruins in secret lands in the future, where treasures would pile up like mountains. And now the treasure hunting beast regarded him as an angel, wishing Heng would take it away as soon as possible. But the protagonist was more like a dog, and in order to accelerate the little one's sense of dependence on him, Sue euphemistically called it training the treasure hunting beast's speed, reserving time every day in the training field behind the management committee building to let the dragon serpent exercise the treasure hunter. The dragon runs toward the little guy with red eyes. Heng notices and orders it to stop. And when the treasure hunting beast has been tortured to the point that it no longer has any love for life, he appears like an angel to stop the dragon serpent's violence. The protagonist says that the dragon quickly released the treasure hunting beast and asks why it bullied it again and whether it could be a little gentler, and the dragon just stares back. Rescuing the treasure hunting beast from the dragon serpent's claws increases the little one's trust and gratitude toward him, and Sue tells the little guy not to cry and to close his eyes, saying that he will subjugate it now and that it will obey. And up to this point, his plan has been perfectly executed. On the outskirts of the grizzly bear forest, a vehicle comes to a stop. Zhang says that crossing that river means leaving the outer area of the grizzly bear forest and entering the inner area, that someone will come to receive them on the next leg of the route, and Heng says he is tired. Someone approaches and jumps down with a dangerous species, a red flame tiger, and a red-haired woman asks if he is Sue, saying that she is Hei Ju, the tamer stationed at the grizzly forest garrison, and that he can call her senior sister. The 2 guards greet her and Heng greets her as well. Ju jumps down and says that the castle lord has already notified them through the short-range communicator that he would come to the forest for a month of training, and she thought he should have arrived earlier but did not expect him to arrive only today. The protagonist apologizes for the delay due to some unforeseen circumstances, and Ju says it is fine, telling the 2 guards they can head back. The guard asks whether the luggage behind is safe. Hei touches her necklace and orders her pet to come out. A monkey is summoned, and Sue thinks that the silver-backed, iron-armed monkey, a highly dangerous species, is at least purebred. And Ju comments that if its strength has broken the racial shackles, it is even harder to judge just by appearance. The monkey senses something, and Zhang says to take the luggage to the base. Hei mounts the tiger again, and Heng says there is no need, then summons his own pet. Ju is surprised and says that he truly deserves to be proud, the professor's junior disciple, whose first tamed beast is already an extremely dangerous species. And she wants to see how capable he is, because riding and fighting are completely different matters, saying that this one was also pretending to be weak at the start to deceive them. Not all bears can master this ability, which instantly increases strength and defense. And with this, the dragon is no match for such an enemy. So Jen says it is time to interrupt the challenge. The protagonist replies that in his mental world he has not yet received any request for help from his pet and chooses to trust it. The bear becomes even more enraged and charges with full force. The dragon releases its mana and flees, but the bear is too fast, and Jen says that at that speed the pet will not be able to escape and will end up seriously injured. The bear leaps, the dragon hesitates for an instant, flicks its tail, and activates the second phase, stubborn stone, causing a massive impact that strikes the opponent and knocks the bear down, sending it rolling away, while the dragon watches until the bear stops rolling and lies motionless on the ground. Lin remarks that it is a foolish bear and asks why he has never encountered such a stupid one before, and Su replies that it was just luck. Jen adds that with Heng's current spiritual energy, he cannot remain airborne for long, while the protagonist is hanging from a tree. Lin whistles to summon his own bird. The eagle grabs the protagonist by the shoulder and places him on the ground, and Jen says that, as expected of the master's disciple, from what she saw in today's battle, he has clearly put in a great deal of effort training his pet. Lin summons the lotus hat, a plant-type healing pet that roots itself into the ground to absorb nutrients and recover injuries, and the lotus hat begins to heal the bear. Jen explains that this is also one of the forest challenge rules. After the battle, it is mandatory to heal the bear, otherwise they will be attacked by an entire group. Su gives his thanks, the bear wakes up and upon seeing the two pets, immediately assumes an attacking posture, but Lin tells it that the battle is over and that if it wants to fight again, it will have to put another bear energy fruit into the wager. The bear leaves dejectedly and Heng watches, surprised and confused, while Jen tells them to follow the animal, saying he will understand better if he keeps watching. The bear walks until it reaches a fruit tree, picks a fruit and places it on the ground, drooling all over it. The dragon watches, picks up the fruit, and the bear bursts out laughing. Lin comments that Ju probably already explained that each area is guarded by a bear, and within each territory there is a small tree that produces the bear energy fruit, right at the center of the ring of trees, which is the bear family's treasure. The protagonist asks whether that is the bear energy fruit and says it is much smaller than he imagined, asking how it should be used. Jen replies that it is meant to be eaten, and that once harvested, the energy begins to evaporate and disperse within minutes. So if there is no special preservation method, the best option is to eat it as quickly as possible. Su tells his pet to open its mouth. The dragon remembers the bear spitting on the fruit and makes a disgusted expression. Heng asks what that look is and states that it is an incredible fruit, then asks his senior brother if he has water. Jen asks whether he plans to slice the fruit later, and Lin, laughing, washes the fruit with water. The protagonist orders the pet to eat it, the dragon swallows the fruit, and Jen warns him to prepare, because as soon as the dragon fully absorbs the energy of the bear fruit, they will depart immediately. Otherwise, a great deal of energy will be wasted. Su asks what he should prepare for, and Lin summons the owl lion and the rock python, calling both out, while Jen tells them to stay alert. Heng thinks that absorbing the bear energy fruit is truly not easy, and thanks them for standing guard. Lin explains that the bear energy fruit can be preserved, but usually by the time one returns to the base, it is already too late to consume it, so it must be eaten right there in the dense forest. And if there is no beast strong enough to stand guard, the best option is to find safe, hidden places like tree hollows or mountain caves, saying he will get used to it after experiencing it a few more times. The dragon stands at the center of the magic circle and the protagonist calls out to it, while Jen says that the fruit's mysterious energy will transform the biological body and even the cells at an abnormal speed, which will certainly trigger a strong stress response in the body. After all, the bear energy fruit is famous for its aggressive effects among energy fruits. The dragon begins releasing extremely powerful energy. 3 days have already passed since it ate its first bear energy fruit, and in these 13 days its size has rapidly grown to approach the limit of the growth stage. Its strength, endurance, and physique are no longer weaker than the peak of that stage and may even surpass it. And since arriving there, it has eaten about 8 to 9 bear energy fruits. The dragon seems to have a talent for provoking itself, and its challenge to success rate leaves Lin both shocked and embarrassed. In 3 days, it fought around 20 bears with a win rate close to 50%. And aside from the first foolish bear that the dragon defeated by luck, the real reason for such a high success rate is the hero, the treasure hunting beast. Almost every bear the dragon challenged was one that treasure hunters had previously discovered, which is why Jen only managed to obtain a single bear energy fruit in more than 10 days, while the dragon obtained 8. This is the secret Lin has still not been able to figure out. The dragon roars, and the protagonist asks whether it means it is sensing again the bear that used that talent ability on the first day. The dragon nods, and Su tells them to go take a look. Hidden behind bushes, Heng wonders whether this is another fight and thinks that the armored wolf is a mid-level, dangerous species that usually lives in dark caves and mining veins, and since this is the grizzly forest, it must be a tamed pet. There is a tamer nearby saying that, as expected, that guy is not enough, and ordering his armored wolf to advance and eliminate the bear. The protagonist thinks that the heavy armored wolf has no weaknesses, that it is a powerful special danger species, comparable to a weaker high-level dangerous species, and far stronger than Ju's red flame tiger. That wolf is in perfect stage and well-maintained. It charges at the bear, strikes it, and knocks it down with a single blow, and Su is shocked by how easily the bear was defeated. Brother Huang had already said that Black Lantern Castle is a force that has existed in this wilderness for 100 years, and that in the process of development, battles and conflicts are inevitable, so some enemies naturally emerge. The force hostile to Black Lantern Castle appears to be made up of tamers, who control heavily armored wolves, because they dominate a habitat of armored wolves just as Black Lantern Castle controls the grizzly forest, though on a smaller scale. Their appearance in the forest is no surprise, and they must have come for the bear energy fruit. Sue wonders how they plan to preserve it, knowing that not even Black Lantern Castle has fully grasped the sinister method of harvesting energy fruits. The masked tamer approaches the fruit with a syringe and injects something into it, and Heng wonders what that is. The protagonist notices a scout beast above them. The tamer continues applying the liquid until he hears a sound and, annoyed, mutters that he never thought a rat would be hiding there. He calls his pet to take a look and mounts it. A few minutes later, the tamer is chasing after the dragon, with Sue riding on its back, and Heng thinks that this man is capable of taming a special classification dangerous species, a heavy armored wolf, and even sneaking into the grizzly forest while concealing his identity to avoid detection. So he must be someone important. The protagonist grabs the radio and reports that he has found an illegal hunter and requests reinforcements, but the radio has no battery. Sue realizes he has been too relaxed at the gathering point for too long, and that relying on his teacher's name for protection made him less cautious. He vows to himself that he will bring this information back and leave alive. Heng releases energy to boost his pet's speed, while the tamer continues riding the wolf in pursuit, ordering the heavy armored wolf to use its awakened skill to catch up and eliminate the rat and the beast. The wolf stops, looks ahead, and activates its awakening, Devil Attack, Straight Line Shadow Strike, rapidly closing the distance. The protagonist reacts and orders his pet to use Level 2 Devil Attack and keep running toward the densest area of trees. The dragon keeps running and flapping its wings, and Sue thinks that the acceleration effect of Level 2 Speed Boost is not as strong as Straight Line Shadow Strike, but it has the advantage of changing direction. Since the enemy likes reckless attacks, it is better to lure those strikes into the trees, and if luck allows, even drag the senior brother into the chaos. The wolf uses its paws and head to smash trees in half, and the tamer comments that the rat is too fast to escape. He then summons another beast, an electric-type tiger, mounts it, and orders it to pursue them. The tiger bursts forward at terrifying speed, quickly catching up to the dragon. Sue's pet manages to dodge the attack but still takes a scratch, and Heng recognizes it as a special classification, dangerous species, a lightning light tiger at the perfect stage. He realizes that at this rate, even if they are not captured, they will still be badly injured. At that moment, the protagonist comes up with an idea and asks the treasure hunting beast to guide them to the nearest bear leader's territory. The treasure hunter tilts its head, points the direction, and the dragon shoots off along that route. Sue orders his pet not only to flee, but also to counterattack with Earth Spear Sacrifice, and while retreating, the dragon activates the skill and raises a stone barrier. The tamer commands his pet to attack, his ring begins to glow, the wolf smashes through the stones, and the chase continues. The tamer sneers that he does not believe the boy can escape. Heng looks back and sees the pursuer refusing to give up, the tamer ordering them to be found. The tiger sniffs around and begins to feel fear, and the tamer asks what is happening. When inside a cave, a series of red eyes open in the darkness. The bear chief emerges from its den, and the tamer panics upon realizing it is a leader-rank monster, ordering his pet to run. On the other side of the forest, the protagonist looks back and thinks that the bear leader can summon the entire group to attack, and that without his teacher's token, even a powerful hunter like this will not be able to withstand all the bears of the grizzly forest. He orders the dragon to run, saying they must return to base and call Senior Suayu, otherwise many of the forest's energy fruits will be stolen. The dragon activates Level 2 Devil Attack speed until it suddenly stops, and Sue shouts for it to dodge quickly. The dragon leaps and climbs onto a tree. The tamer remarks that it is a pity that he was lucky to dodge, and Heng asks whether he really managed to catch up. The tamer replies that his lightning light tiger has a target locking ability, so even at long range it can still track the enemy. The protagonist realizes it is a tracking skill. The tamer says that using the bear leader to draw danger and then fleeing to report is a clever strategy, but Sue must understand that a tamer of his level is easy to use an idiot bear as a shield, and that in the end, he is nothing more than someone who can only control a low-level scaled lizard. He orders the tiger to finish everything. The tiger charges, but suddenly stops, confused and frightened. The dragon activates Level 2 Awakened Power, and Sue understands that the treasure-hunting beast, being of the mysterious type, has used its talent skill, Illusion, making the pursuer see the dragon as an ordinary scaled lizard. Although the dragon's power cannot completely restrain the tiger, it is enough to buy a few seconds. Fortunately, he had prepared a smoke bomb using residue extracted from dense black grease, and now it finally proves useful. The explosion erupts, smoke spreads, and the dragon shoots away. Heng says this is their last chance. The tamer shouts that Sue is still trying to escape, swearing that he will be finished today no matter what. and orders his tiger to use lightning dash to catch up and kill the trash first and the beast afterward. The tiger leaps, about to strike, but someone with a glowing ring activates a level 6 fire defense skill, Fire Guardian. It is the protagonist himself who raises a barrier and hurls the tiger away. Sue wonders since when Fire Guardian could directly protect him and why no one told him earlier, complaining inwardly that he nearly died of fright. The tamer says that skill is normally mastered only by high-level dangerous species, sealed in a special ring, and that such a ring is rare even among tamers. Not even he possesses one, so he demands to know who Sue really is. Heng ignores the question, asks his pet what it is waiting for, and orders it to run. The tamer snarls that Sue still wants to escape, that no matter who he is, he will not have a chance to report anything, and that he will have to show himself eventually. A white lion is summoned, and the protagonist asks how many tamed beasts he brought, saying this is unfair. The tamer replies that it does not matter who the master is, he will definitely kill him today. The dragon stops, and the tamer asks whether it will not run anymore. Sue asks whether he recognizes that tamed beast. The tamer looks up in shock and realizes it is the green hummingbird, Lin's scout pet. Jen approaches with her pet leaping onto the ground and demands to know who dares harm her junior brother. The tamer asks whether she also dares to stop him. Lin replies that he will not only stop him but also kill him. And Jen says, "City of Sinful Fire, trash." Heng recalls that he has heard of them before. The full name of the City of Fire is the Sinful Fire Gathering Area, also a large-scale gathering place with deep and exceptional foundations. And it has always been hostile to Black Lantern Castle. Unlike the Grizzly Forest, their leader appears to have a deep connection with the wolf leader, which explains why their main force of tamed beasts is of the wolf type. The tamer says they are becoming more and more arrogant, but doubts they can do what they claim. All of the tamer's beasts charge forward as he declares that when Sue is about to lose his life, he wants to see whether he will still be so arrogant. The beasts surge ahead. Lin smiles and says he will find out whether they are capable after he's eliminated. Jen summons her python, which releases its power and flings the wolf away, and the protagonist calls out to his senior brother. The wolf is struck in the face. Lin summons a flame and heat avatar that slams into the wolf and hurls it away, and the tamer looks on in shock. That is a flame and heat avatar with poison, martial, heat, magic, and charm attributes, a special classification dangerous species. Sue realizes that his senior brother planned this from the start. When he summoned the python, he also summoned the flame and heat avatar, but concealed it with a magical stealth skill, preparing an ambush. This is the combat capability of a tamed beast with 5 attributes. The wolf begins releasing flames and terrifying power, and the tamer, still stunned by the flame and heat avatar, admits that it truly is a rare tamed beast. And no wonder Lin dares to be so arrogant. He hit it so well that not even the Sinful Fire City's intelligence agency discovered that he had tamed such a rare creature. Lin asks if, now that he has found out, the man understands how he will be killed today. The tamer scoffs, saying that an avatar of fire and heat wants to kill him and must be daydreaming, claiming that the armored wolf is also among the few special-level danger species, and that a mere fire and heat avatar will not be able to defeat it. The wolf uses a straight-line shadow strike, opens its huge mouth to swallow the avatar, but the avatar dodges and releases flames at it, hitting cleanly and blasting the wolf away. The protagonist is shocked, wondering if his senior brother is really that strong, and the tamer says that power is terrifying. He asks if Lin thinks he can seriously injure his heavy armored wolf, ordering the wolf to reapply its armor. Jen orders the avatar to make him feel even more pain and use Heat Fist, crystal form. The avatar's strength surges and the two charge together, their blows colliding in a massive explosion. Flames spread around the avatar with tremendous energy. The tamer admits it is incredible, saying that, as expected of a rare tamed beast like a fire and heat avatar, it can master both classification type and awakened type skills, and no wonder it managed to heavily injure his heavy armored wolf. The tamer then summons another beast, a red-scaled beast, and Lin asks if he thinks that trash can help him defeat him. The tamer replies that he does not need to defeat him, only stall him, because people will naturally arrive to kill Lin. He asks over the radio which of them is interested in killing Lin, and Jen answers that if that is what he is thinking, Chief Shu has already been notified, and now it depends on who arrives first. The tamer asks if there might be another way, and Lin asks if he still dares try something. The tamer says he should be able to hold them for 4 seconds. The red beast charges, and Lin orders the avatar to use the superheated explosive strike. A violent impact erupts, immense power surging outward, and the tamer says that even a rat about to be finished dares come closer. The smoke begins to shift and the dragon appears within it. The tamer thinks that all their beasts are tied up and Sue can seize the moment now. But the protagonist uses the evil bomb and the piercing soil pearl. The dragon releases a fierce, heavy blow, closing in on the enemy and detonating an explosion. The smoke clears and the tamer summons a chimpanzee, starting to laugh, when at that moment a bald man approaches with his own beast. The tamer says Sue is unlucky because his people arrived first. He orders the scorpion to deal with Lin and retreat, warning them not to get blocked by Shu's bastard. The bald man advances with a manticore, an extremely dangerous species in the mature stage. The pressure in the air rises sharply and the dragon's tail is struck, sliced into strips, while the chimpanzee opens its massive mouth and lunges at them. The dragon takes an attack stance and Lin warns Su to be careful. The chimpanzee slams the avatar from behind, eyes brimming with killing intent, lifts its giant foot and is about to crush it when it is struck by flames first. Ju arrives with Z and Yu and he, furious, calls the enemies sun thieves, saying they are bullying them and asking if there is no one left in Black Lantern. The bald man asks if Yu should not be in Rivet Town and how he could arrive so fast, and Z replies that if Lao had not been there, they would not have gotten anything done with those tricks, and that everyone will have to stay there today. The tamer says that since their grandpas dared show up, they must be prepared, and orders them to bring out the final trump card, telling them not to hide anymore. The bald man explains that the creature was kept as a secret weapon against KE, but this time it will be used to bury those 4 bastards. He says 4 tamers will die at once, including 3 high-level ones. And even Joe, the Lord of Black Lantern Castle, might not be able to bear such pain. The chimpanzee opens its mouth, releasing a deafening sound, and Ju says it is a super dangerous species and that this is a huge problem. The chimpanzee charges, but is struck hard in the stomach and hurled away with a thunderous impact. Everyone is stunned, and Hay says that is Chief Shu's main force, and that beast is a terrifying dragon. Z comments that it truly is the most powerful, super dangerous species in a completed stage among them all, and the golden-backed, steel-armed ape was finished in 2 blows. The terrifying dragon opens its enormous mouth and lets out a booming roar. Everyone stays on high alert, and the protagonist asks if this is the power of a super dangerous species, while the bald man tells his partner that Shu K is here and they need to run. A beam fires in front of them, trying to hit them. The tamer falls off the tiger and is struck by overwhelming force, while the bald man keeps running. Shu K approaches with his beast and says he did not expect those men to infiltrate the bear forest while he was away, thanking everyone for their hard work, until he notices something. The python has been killed, and Lin is beside it, watching with grief. KE asks who did that, and Sue answers that it was the out-of-control Earth Dragon of that sneaky bastard from Sin City. Shu orders everyone to be taken back to base to rest. Ju says she understands, and KE leaves with the dragon, telling them to leave the rest to him. Later, elsewhere in the forest, 4 people talk, saying that the plan that seemed foolproof was ruined by a little bastard, and that Lei, Tu, and Ma did not escape and were probably all finished by Zhu. The masked one curses, saying those intelligence agents should be hanged because they did not even find out that Shui and that kid were in the grizzly forest, so they only tried to avoid Lin and Ju. The partner beside him says it is too late to talk nonsense. The operation has been discovered by KE and the mission is declared a failure, and the best thing is to send the news back to the gathering point so they can prepare in advance, because hiding is not the kind of gathering point that takes a loss and does not retaliate. 2 of them agree and ask about the other, and the bald man tells them not to worry about him, that he can decide for himself. They fall silent for a moment until they hear a commotion. They ask what happened, and KE bursts out of the bushes with his beast. They stare in shock when they realize it is KE, then turn and run. Back at the grizzly forest base, many beasts lie finished, and Shu says that most of the intruders were eliminated, and that 2 fish slipped through the net, but it is not worth chasing them. Ju comments that if they are transferred off the mountain, it will be dangerous. KE says he took a quick look at each area, and the losses this time are not that great. There are hundreds of Xiangli fruit trees in the grizzly bear forest, but only 1 out of every few dozen was harvested, less than a tenth. On the other hand, the bears killed and wounded nearly 100 invading creatures, which is a major loss for the entire grizzly group. The owner of the grizzly bear forest, the bear leader, will certainly be furious when he finds out, but they will not be held responsible for the later consequences, because Black Lantern Castle will launch revenge against the City of Sinful Fire to give the grizzly forest's owner an explanation. As for the individual losses, KE acknowledges that Lin's losses were not small. He promises to report the truth to the castle and try to compensate him with a super dangerous cub of excellent qualifications. Regarding Ju and She, the timely support from both will be considered a meritorious service and properly reported to the higher authorities. Yu thinks to himself that it was fortunate they did not investigate why the young master left his post without authorization and remained in Bear Forest. Shu then asks why he was not in Rivet Town and what he was doing there. She replies that he came to support Lin and Sue. KE tells him to stop pretending, stating that he has no patience to argue about that, and that he will take him back to Rivet Town immediately and make him stay there. Shu leaves awkwardly without arguing. Shu comments that the plan of Sinfire City being thwarted this time was mainly due to Sue and Heng, and that both deserve credit. He believes the castle lord will be very satisfied and will not hesitate to reward them. Since they are in Grizzly Forest, they cannot ignore the achievements obtained there. Shu suggests that the base warehouse has many valuable items, and that he can choose one or two as a reward. Su replies that if Lin had not arrived in time, even though the enemy's plan was ruined, he would probably have lost his life, and that it would be better to transfer this reward to his senior brother. Ke smiles and says that it is a good thing to see two juniors so harmonious. He assures them that both are indispensable and that Lin's rewards and compensations will be decided directly by the castle lord, so there is no need to refuse them. He then tells them to prepare, as he will take them to the warehouse. Su asks to wait until the next day, claiming that it is not very convenient at that moment. At night, elsewhere, Heng comments that after reflecting for a long time, he has finally reached a conclusion. If one is to choose a treasure, it would be a waste not to consult the ancient records. He says that the final destination of beast tamers is always the same: to turn their beasts into dragons, reaching the top of the food chain. However, the journey to become a dragon is extremely dangerous and requires countless precious materials to obtain a tiny chance of success. In this context, the cost-benefit ratio of the treasure hunting beast becomes even more evident, because a treasure hunting dragon beast would have a much higher probability of obtaining evolutionary materials. Just as there are various ways for a scaled lizard to transform into a dragon, there is also more than one path for the treasure hunting beast to evolve. However, while lizards have dozens of evolutionary routes, treasure hunting beasts have only 9. 8 of them depend on the bloodlines of other dragons. To preserve the ability to obtain treasures, there is only one option: evolve into a treasure hunting dragon beast, still under the dominion of the mysterious system. Su opens the ancient book and decides to wait until dawn to go to the warehouse in search of treasures. The next day, at the Grizzly Forest base, he asks if he can already go to the warehouse. Ju replies that the chief asked him to inform them that a border observation station happened to discover traces of a Sinfire City supply convoy the previous night. Without wasting time, the chief departed immediately to destroy it. Ju comments in an ironic tone that if only it had been finished yesterday, and that now the reward will have to wait for his return. At that moment, Heng has a sudden idea and tells his pet that he has just thought of something important. The dragon is confused, but the two leave quickly. Hei observes the scene and complains, asking why he spends the whole day grumbling. In the forest, Su walks with his pet by his side, reflecting that Hei washed Chi, which made him remember that the bears of Grizzly Forest probably never received proper care. After the recent invasion, many of them were also injured. He recalls that the ancient dragon code contains an appropriate recipe for bears and that, using the treasure hunting beast, he can find docile individuals. Su concludes that no one said the only way to obtain Xiangli is by fighting. He calls his pet to make use of the remaining time in Brown Bear Forest and move on. The dragon, still confused, simply follows him. Under his leadership, relying on the treasure hunting beast, the dragon lizard, and the special formula of the ancient dragon code, one person and 2 beasts go through another abundant harvest. They heal a brown bear again and even give it a bath, obtaining a good reward: 3 complete Xiangli fruits and some rare bird eggs, all handed over to the dragon serpent lizard. At night, something unexpected happens. The bear assumes an attack stance and activates a level 4 illumination skill. Heng watches carefully and says that, since the food was delicious, the bear wants to repay them with a battle. The dragon also takes a combat stance. The bear charges, but the dragon attacks first. Su comments that it is a pity since his pet's broken tail has not yet recovered. The bear hits it head-on, knocking it down and pinning it. Su tells his pet to admit defeat, reminding it that the injury has not healed yet, but the dragon insists on fighting. The bear glares at the dragon with red eyes and raises its paw to attack. The dragon grabs both paws, unleashes its power, and activates Dragon Song combined with the Warhammer, releasing an absurd force. Heng gets excited at the sight while the bear flees in terror. Su is surprised to realize that this is a level 4 illuminated skill. He approaches his pet, strokes it, and says he did not expect it to be so talented in Long Wei, reaching the 4th level of illumination. Fragments of the dragon's skin begin to fall off, which makes Heng worried. Suddenly, an overwhelming energy is released. The dragon's tail regenerates and becomes even more powerful. Su is astonished and recognizes this as late growth, finally manifested. Elsewhere, Kei asks whether the dragon serpent really grew and whether what he heard is true. The answer is affirmative, and Lin is testing the creature. Shu asks if this is happening on the training field. At the base entrance, Jen calls his junior brother and asks whether the chief has already returned. Kei replies that the supply convoy has been dealt with a small delay, and comments that he heard Su's dragon lizard has reached the final growth stage. Lin confirms that it fully meets the standards of that stage. Shu remarks that the progress is truly incredible. The castle lord only expected him to break his limits, and entering the final stage would already have been a bonus. He did not expect him to completely exceed expectations, demonstrating the true spirit of the Black Lantern. He orders that, the next morning, arrangements be made to go to Ermet City, and that someone take the young man back to the castle as the special training has been completed. Before that, however, he will take him to the storage to choose rewards. Su says he has just returned and that the journey was exhausting, suggesting choosing the next day. Ke responds that he already broke his promise before, and that since he had promised 2 items, he will compensate him by allowing him to choose 1 more. In the warehouse of the Brown Bear Forest Base, Su asks if he can really choose freely. Shu says he will wait outside. Heng runs excitedly at the sight of the quantity of treasures, commenting on the vastness of the Brown Bear Forest, which includes forests, lakes, rivers, valleys, and hills, each region producing different materials. Su remembers that he can only choose 3 items, and asks the treasure hunting beast to look for something specific mentioned the previous night. If they find it, he will help it evolve into a treasure hunting dragon beast. The creature runs off among the treasures. Su comments that in the end, everything depends on luck, until Heng notices something strange when he sees it stopped on the chest of a statue, refusing to move away. In the city, people carry boxes back and forth. One of the men holds a piece of paper and warns them to be careful with the pilot master's baby. Lin comments that Chief Shu recently eliminated several gathering points of Sinfire City, and that, judging by their style, revenge is inevitable, so it is best to double their vigilance on the road. Shua asks what he's talking about and who exactly is being looked down on, stating that now that Su has arrived in Rivet City, he has entered their territory and they can guarantee that he will return safely. Jen replies that then everything is settled, as Chief Ke still has matters to handle and welcomes the junior brother to return to the forest whenever he wishes. Heng says he will certainly return and thanks them for the care during this period. Yu comments, somewhat irritated, that they have already been sentimental enough and that they will check the firepower unit again as they are about to depart. The target is the Black Lantern's meeting point and everyone responds that they understand. In Rivet City, a hooded woman states that the information has been confirmed. According to a local informant, that day, a group of guards would escort an important person to the Black Lantern stronghold. From the descriptions, it is the little problem protected by the Ring of the Fire Guardian, someone capable of interfering with the operation. The bald man says he also received news that Lin has already left Armet City and that now all that remains is to wait for the escort combat of the Little Mouse. They decide to ambush the group in that valley. Hidden among bushes, they observe vehicles passing by. The bald man snarls that the cursed rat has developed a special taste for escaping death, and that the hunting team exists solely to make him taste the fear of being finished off. He guarantees that this time, he will make the man watch his own brother die. Suddenly, an explosion echoes. The bald man asks what happened, and Lin appears from behind with his avatar, telling him to stop hiding. He says that the 2 companions have already been massacred by Shu, and that, as for him, he will handle the job personally. The bald man panics and says that it is impossible. Jen tells him to look more carefully and asks whether Su's team deliberately stopped at the entrance of the valley without entering it. The bald man grits his teeth, calling it despicable, saying that they use the information as bait just to lure him out. On the other side, the masked man lying on the ground spits blood and sneers, saying that when it comes to despicable methods, no one surpasses Sinfire City itself. Ke replies coldly that he is there only to protect the Black Lantern Knights, otherwise there would be no reason for them to cross blades. The avatar releases its power and Zhu steps forward, increasing the pressure on the battlefield. Meanwhile, the vehicles continue moving. Su observes from a distance and calculates that, judging by the level of destruction, it must be a high-tier dangerous species. He remembers that his senior brother asked them to depart with a half-hour delay precisely because of this. Realizing that the situation has been resolved, Su calls the chief, thanks him for the support, and says that in the future when Ke returns to the castle, Huan will personally offer thanks. Ke simply tells him to hurry up and not keep the castle lord waiting. 2 days later, at the Black Lantern gathering point, the fortress master remarks that he heard Heng worked hard and asks whether there was significant progress. Heng replies that he did not disappoint his teacher. He then summons his dragon. Zul stands up, walks over to the creature, and begins examining it closely, even opening its mouth to inspect it. Su grows tense, thinking it would be best if the dragon did not move, because if the master became irritated, he could easily tear it apart. He comments that Sinfire City has been severely struck in recent days by the vassals sent by the master, including the armored wolf breeding sites, which were also destroyed by the senior brother. Heng asks whether they will not attempt revenge again against Grizzly Forest and Lin, Ju, and the others. The fortress master tells him not to worry. The Lord of the Forest has secretly returned, and unless the ruler of Sinfire comes personally, no one would dare cause trouble. Moreover, Heng not only completed the special training, but also contributed greatly to the illegal hunting case in Sinhuo. Su asks whether the master still has the high-level dragon scales he gave him before, and whether he could eat another slice. Zul laughs and asks whether just 1 piece is enough, saying that he performed excellently and asking whether he does not want to formally enroll as a disciple, or if he desires anything else. Su asks to request a reward on behalf of his senior brother, stating that, in Grizzly Forest, if Lin had not sacrificed the main combat force to restrain the beast and save him, he might not have returned alive. He comments that Lin is indeed a good seedling with spiritual cultivation at its peak, and that after the new year, someone will send a Qingyan Liaohu cub as compensation, so that the rescue will not have been in vain. Heng thinks that Lin truly received a blessing in disguise. Zul adds that he also arranged a villa for Su, suggesting that he use his free time to visit his sister and organize the move, since the grand competition of the Six Lands is about to begin. Su thanks him and says that he lived up to expectations. As he leaves, he calls him and says that as a teacher, he must teach him something. Excessive humility is not a virtue in the world of masters. Strength must be respected, and when it is necessary to fight, one must fight. On the way home, Zul's words echo in Su's mind. After everything he experienced in Sinfire City, he understands that he can choose to be a moral person, but only if he has enough strength to force others to listen to his morality. When he arrives home, he hears a female voice commenting on an old scandal of his. Confused, he wonders which old woman is spreading that. When he opens the door and announces that he is back, Qing runs to hug him, saying that she heard from the guards that he was attacked on the way. Su replies that everything is fine and that it is already over. Only then does he notice two young women in the living room. Qing explains that they are colleagues from the administrative department and the materials department, Manhwa and Jin Mei Li. Su tries to say something, but Qing interrupts him, launching into a speech about marriage, children, and stability, saying that she chose girls with good hips and that they even helped prepare the table. Su says that he is tired and wants to sleep a bit before eating. Dinner proceeds in an awkward atmosphere until he takes out the treasure hunting beast, immediately drawing the attention of the three women. Later, as they leave, Qing says that he should accompany them home. Jin replies that it is not necessary since they live nearby and only need to cross the street. Meng agrees, saying that she expected something more lively, but found someone very reserved. At that moment, Su feels something strange and tells everyone to be careful. A giant rat appears ahead. Mei Li panics and asks how a rat that big could appear there. Su explains that it is a giant rat, a low-level dangerous species in the adult stage, possibly mutated after eating the remains of beast tamers animals. He warns that giant rats live in packs and tells them to move back. Red eyes begin to appear, but Su summons the dragon. The rats panic and flee. The dragon charges and eliminates them with ease. Guards rush over, praising the feat. Su instructs them to request a blood-tailed cat from their security department, because if such rats invade the area, something serious could happen. He orders the bodies to be sent to the internal office and informs them that villa number 73 is now his. Later, Heng discovers that this villa was He's former residence, and that since then, the troublesome Lu Ling, the neighbor across the way, has begun behaving himself, especially after seeing Su's sister. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new content. Thank you.